Did you like this movie? I kind of like this movie.
I did not. No, I did not like it.
No, and fun.
Double no.
No.
In fact, I saw it once, and all I remember is rage.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of SinCast is brought to you by Mubi, a curated online cinema streaming exceptional films from around the globe. Each day, Mubi introduces a new gem and you have 1 month to watch it. From cult classics to acclaimed masterpieces, every film is hand-selected by experts. Try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/cinemasins. That's mubi.com/cinemasins for your extended free trial. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as sometimes by Jeremy Scott.
Fuck you. I was vomiting. It was not fun.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
Hi, everyone. I'm always here.
I'm double barreling you right now. Giving you the old bum, 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 bum.
I only said it because it was funny.
It was funny.
That's right.
And that's why I can forgive it.
That's right. We are going to continue our road trip today.
Road trip.
On the road again.
The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
We're going to Delaware and Florida.
Delaware!
That's right.
Finally here! You know,
Man.
Frank from Twitter is just freaking out right now because I believe he lives in Delaware. I believe he's actually one of the only 10 people that live in Delaware.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And,
One of the lucky few.
Yeah, I always joke about other New England states that he lives in because they all run together for me. Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, Delaware.
Well, that was what's funny. When we did the convention here in Nashville, he said something like it'd be great if you guys came up to where I lived, and I thought he lived in Rhode Island.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, we were in Rhode Island, like he was an asshole. And he's like, he's thought about it for a second. He's like, you know, I live in Delaware, right?
It's not as close to Rhode Island as you think it is.
Yeah, I said I did not. But Delaware does not have a lot.
No.
It has maybe more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go over the ones that Wikipedia normally says, and then we'll go. I got a few more after that, I guess.
I think the most Delaware famous moment is in Wayne's World.
Has to be.
Because
they're making the joke.
And none of this is filmed in Delaware. It's not filmed it's not set in Delaware.
In the background.
Yeah, but we just want to put that right off the bat. I don't want anybody coming up and saying, well, you know, Wayne's World was actually shot in Toronto or some shit. Okay, yeah, we get it.
Toronto. But it's that great bit where they're doing I guess an advertisement for their the Noah's Arcade or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, you can take a trip," and the green screen comes back and it's like, "To Delaware," and they're like mimicking walking through, and he's like, "Hi, I'm in Delaware."
Yeah,
That's literally it.
Because they have a couple of states other than that where it's like, I don't remember, is it Texas? It's like, hey, howdy, partner, blah blah blah, gargling, they go through all, and then they get to Delaware and it's like a bridge. He's like, oh, we could go to Delaware. Hey, I'm in Delaware.
I think Delaware is now more famous for being mentioned in Wayne's World than it was for anything prior to Wayne's World coming out.
I agree.
That's probably true.
And probably still.
Yeah.
One of the big cult classics from the 90s, Empire Records.
Yeah.
Who
was
would have
shot-
guessed?
Yeah.
Delaware.
Yeah.
Would even have a record store.
Right.
I guess
It's the one.
I'm just going to be making different versions of that same joke all goddamn day. I love me some Empire
Yeah,
Records.
me too.
This is like a lot of people that you'll recognize before they were like recognizable. Right? You got Liv Tyler in here. You've got I just blanked on everybody
You
else.
got Rory Cochrane. You got Anthony LaPaglia.
Anthony LaPaglia, who was trying to think of.
Renee Zellweger.
Renee Zellweger, really young Renee Zellweger.
Yeah.
Anthony LaPaglia plays a lot older than he actually was. Like he was and I guess it's just relative to the rest of the cast. But he, in my mind, when I watched that in 1995, it looked like he was ancient. Same thing with Paul Rudd in Clueless. He looked like he was much older, even though he was like just a couple of years.
Yeah, I feel like that happens with everybody though. Like you go back and you start watching a movie that you saw when you were 17 or whatever, and you're like, man, that person was old as fuck, and they're like 27.
Yeah.
Yeah, Empire Records is a movie we've discussed it a few times, but it's a real fun.
Oh yeah.
It's a real fun movie. I mean, 90s as shit, but
Yeah.
it's got that, I guess, Clerks vibe with more people in it or whatever. But just a fun movie.
Yeah, and it's set in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like a day in the life of these teens who work at a record store. It's a harmless, fun, good time.
It's essentially a relic now, because it takes place at a store that they don't really exist anymore. But record store culture was always fascinating to me. Same thing in High Fidelity, where like it breeds a certain community among the people who work there and the people that come in, especially ones like the regulars, where you get turned on to new stuff, and that stuff doesn't happen anymore.
Well, and
you know?
I compare it to video stores. It's the same kind of thing in video stores. A lot of the obscure movies that I've seen in my life, I only saw because I was wandering down some weird aisle in the video store and saw, oh, Ben Affleck was in some movie before School Ties? I'll check that out. And you don't get that anymore, and you can't recreate it online.
No, and especially the community. Like you'll hear something like in a record store, you'll hear something over the loudspeaker and be like, in like the High Fidelity thing, like who is this? The Beta Band, that kind of thing. Where like you get turned on to say, oh, here you go. This is what you need to be listening to.
That's how I discovered Keane.
Oh yeah,
the band Keane. I was at Tower Records and I was already a fan of Why Does It Always Rain on Me? That's the name of the song. Why does it always rain on me?
Is that the Keane?
The sun is shining. No, it's not Keane. It's another band that sounds like Radiohead.
There's like a bunch of bands that were in that Keane era, like Snow Patrol, and there was it Travis and
Travis? That's the one I'm thinking. So I was already a Travis fan. They were playing them on Lightning 100, and I'm just shopping at Tower Records, and they started playing this Keane album. And 3 songs in, I was like, I've loved all 3 of these songs. And I walk up to the counter and bought that album and went home.
You
don't get
moments.
that anymore.
Yep.
And you can't go to Google and say, play me a song I've never heard.
Yeah, well, apparently the HomePod, you can say, play me something I'd like.
Yeah.
And they'll do it.
Really?
That's what happens in that FKA Twigs ad that I was talking about that Spike Jones directed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No,
yeah, that'd be an interesting double feature to watch one day, Empire Records and High Fidelity.
I have done it
done
multiple
it.
times.
I bet it makes sense. I bet it works.
It does. It's
Are there
awesome.
any other movies that are sort of focus on the record store culture like that?
Not exclusively, I don't think. I mean, there may be something that's fairly obscure, but those two in particular are like the touchstones, because and High Fidelity came out in 2000, so it's really that bridge between, you know, the old school and the new school. And then Empire Records is just more about the community and the interactions.
There's no school like the old school.
You sound like an old-timey miner
I think
something.
I'm quoting the guys that's The Incredibles, right?
What was the quote?
There's no school like the old school. That's like 2 bystanders watching.
Oh, it might
at
be.
the end when the superheroes are back saving the day. They're doing an old school. I think that's Incredibles.
It might be. Then there's also Fight Club.
Yeah.
Now, is it just shot there? Was it partially shot there?
It was shot there, and it apparently takes place there. Anytime I've looked for where does Fight Club take place, it's a town in Delaware. Now, if I had asked you before I saw that and before you saw that, if I had asked you where does Fight Club take place,
Detroit.
It could be Detroit. It could be Providence. It could be like any number of cities.
It's that house that they live in that always made me think Detroit, because Detroit's the only city I've ever been to where you probably could find a house to squat in miles from any other human being, but still buildings everywhere.
Yeah.
So I've always, and again, I refuse to believe there's a city in Delaware big enough to stand in for that last scene with all the big high-rise buildings.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if
I have it on
Dover
good
is.
authority. Delaware has 1 skyscraper, and it's only 30 stories tall. I'm making that up.
Okay.
I felt guilty when you looked like you actually believed me.
But yeah, I mean, I guess there's nothing in there that screams out Delaware vibe.
Well, isn't this one of those movies like Seven that sort of is trying to be every town or any town.
I think so.
I think they're going out of their way to make it feel like it could be any city.
Yeah.
They're not trying to make it. Now, if you read the book, maybe it's overt. Like,
No, it's not.
I am Jack's Delaware voter registration card.
Oh, that's a way to check, actually. The time that he takes his wallet and looks at his ID.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll tell us if
Maybe.
it's Delaware.
I don't know.
Maybe it
That
does.
guy might just have an out-of-state ID.
Knowing Fincher, though, like, I mean, he got a guy to actually write all those John Doe diaries in Seven, so
it's true.
He may have a different kind of ID in that, like, that just says,
You know who he got to write all those? It was Daniel Day-Lewis.
It probably was.
In his
but
spare time.
But his ID probably says Florida, Mississippi or something.
It was, according to USA Today, 15 years ago after the Fight Club, it was set in Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Wilmington, Delaware.
Sometimes it's a dildo. We'll make sure that we don't say your dildo.
The dildo.
The dildo. Also, a movie that I really like that I don't think a lot of people got to see when it was out. It was Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
Yeah, I actually really wanted to see that. 'cause
Which one
it's-
is this?
This is Steve Carell and Keira Knightley.
Okay, I have seen this.
And it's I'm a sucker for those type of movies where it's the last day on the earth and everything like that. Like there's this oncoming cataclysm of some sort that everybody knows about, so everybody just does weird fucking things the whole time.
Yep.
There's a movie called Last Night, I believe, that does this, and then there's Melancholia.
I was going to say Melancholia.
That has that, and I'm a sucker for all of them. I talk about a trilogy. Now, you want to start with Melancholia and work your way.
Yeah.
So that they get better as you go.
Because Melancholia is depressing as fuck.
It is. I like it though.
Yeah,
I liked it too.
Yeah. But yeah, Seeking a Friend for the End of the World is really good.
I always get that for no reason. I always get that confused with Safety Not Guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's because they both came out around the same time and they both had really high concept ideas behind what was basically just a drama.
A lot of stuff that takes place in a car in both of them.
Well, yeah, I suppose. I actually never saw Safety Not Guaranteed.
But I did. I actually liked it, but I don't know why you give that guy Jurassic World after.
No.
And then say, let's do Star Wars after.
Well, I think they learned their lesson.
I think they did. But yeah, that's a really good movie. There's a fun scene in there where Carell and Knightley go to like one of those chain restaurants, like a TGI Fridays or something like that. And like Gillian Jacobs is a waitress in there. And there's like this point where they're like, who cares what happens tonight, guys? You know, like they're just like, you want to have sex with us? Go ahead. You know, and like everybody's having like a little like conga line inside the restaurant. No, that's a fun movie. Another one, I don't think I saw this. We send it, but Goosebumps.
Oh, man, they're making another one.
Are they?
They are definitely making another one. Right now, they're filming.
Well, R.L. Stein is,
It was pretty well received. Wasn't
Yeah, I think it. Well, maybe it was lukewarm.
People who received it well didn't actually watch it. That's my theory. That movie is offensive.
Is it really?
It's bad. It's just stupid bad. It's just
Interesting.
like, I mean, I've seen 100 more clever movies that this is ripping off. Anyway, sorry.
76% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, so that
overall.
is pretty good.
6.3 on IMDb.
How much money did it make, though? I guess it made enough.
$150 million.
You know what? Jack Black is sneaky bankable these days.
Yeah,
He
no
really
kidding,
is.
right?
Like
He really is.
that and well, I mean, people didn't go really to see Jumanji because of him, but
Right.
I don't know. He's sneaky, like gotten good at what he does, and like he hasn't fallen into that trap of being just like always. I don't know. He does these kids movies really well.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about it. I didn't see Goosebumps, so I don't know what to say about it other than it was shot there. I didn't watch it. I just kind of like went through scenes.
It was moments where it was almost Pete's Dragon all over again.
Yeah. Now I went and looked outside of Wikipedia and found a few things. Dead Poet Society was shot in Delaware.
Interesting.
Some actual private school in Delaware was used, and like even the cave that they're in and all that's all like Delaware landmarks and everything. So of all the movies that I've seen so far, that's probably the best one that I've seen
so
shot.
good.
And that I've seen shot in Delaware.
Or else the puck a liar call.
Yeah.
That movie holds up, by the way, too.
It holds up really well.
It had been forever since I saw it, and I saw it probably about 3 or 4 months ago. And god damn, it's still good.
When the writing is good and the characters are good and it's a period piece, it's almost always going to play well because it's not going to age the way something contemporary will. Yeah, I saw it maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and I was, same thing. I was like, wow, this movie's actually really good.
Yeah, I don't think there's any part of it that says we're in Delaware or anything, but it's shot there and it's,
I would say it does feel New England-y, though.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, for sure. It's you definitely not going to see that in like the Midwest or something like that.
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit.
Detroit. Let's just bag on Detroit all day.
I also saw that Wedding Crashers was shot there, at least in part.
I saw that too. Yeah, obviously it's supposed to take place off like Cape Cod or something like that because they're in Washington. But yeah, I saw that part of it was shot there.
Yeah.
And Bradley Cooper's name is Sack.
Yeah.
Like immediately he's unlikable, you know?
Yeah. I saw that Runaway Bride was shot there too. It was like a small town in Delaware that was shot.
Is that a shitty movie?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I was watching some shitty movie yesterday and it ended and I didn't change the channel and Runaway Bride came on and I accidentally watched about 10 minutes. It's not good. It's not worth your time. It's one of those based on a real story, but when we fictionalize everything.
Partially based on Julia Roberts.
Yes. But I laughed at one moment almost, and I'm going to tell you the joke and it's not even a great joke, but maybe this speaks to how mediocre the whole movie is, that when this joke occurred near the end, I died laughing because maybe that was just that desperate for a laugh. But when she runs away from the wedding the whole movie is building up to, she hops on a FedEx truck and it drives away. And somebody says, "Where's she going?" And Hector Elizondo goes, "I don't know, but she'll be there by 9:30 tomorrow morning." It's not a good movie, no. I would not recommend it.
This is the movie that I believe The Simpsons is making fun of in that one episode where they take the crayon out of Homer's brain that's stuck in his nose or whatever, and he goes to see that movie. It's like a packed house watching this Richard Gere, Julia Roberts movie. And like there's that part where like the preacher or whatever is like about to say the vows or whatever, or they say the whatever you say at weddings.
I know you've been to at least mine.
I've been to like 10 weddings. I don't know what the fuck these things are called. Whatever they tell the bride and groom to say. Are those vows?
Yes.
Well, no. Are the things that they say they repeat after? Are those vows?
Yeah, those are vows too.
Those are considered vows too.
Yeah, till death do us part.
Okay, so the vows then. So like there's a point where like it's will you please present the groom, and it's like 2 grooms. It was like, wait a minute, 2 grooms. He's like, oh, my medication. And it's like a terrible, terrible comedy that they're making fun of. And everybody's laughing and everything. And Homer's like, what's so funny? Like, that's not funny. And he's like, everybody knows that she's going to end up with Richard Gere in the end. And everybody's like, oh, he's like, keep it to yourself, Homer, you know?
Oh man.
Yeah. So that piece of shit was shot there. The Village was in part filmed, even though it was mostly Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
The Village was in part filmed in Delaware, and the big bridge action scene in Mission Impossible 3 was shot there.
Oh, okay.
I've got to remember that now.
He's like jumping across like gaps in it. And all that.
You know, for a movie that's so much better than Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 3 is really forgettable.
It's pretty forgettable.
I don't know, man. I
Except
like
for
that.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
It's Philip Seymour Hoffman, and
That's the only. Everything else, I'm just like, what happened in that movie? I know there was a warehouse. There's some kind of
there's
killer
a
pill.
MacGuffin. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just in and out. Just
I don't know. I like it. I think it's really good.
It's nowhere near as good as the next 2.
No, I agree.
Obviously there are other movies that were shot there and some stuff that I haven't seen. Head Case.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen that movie. Last Flag Flying. I haven't seen that.
I really want to see that movie. That's getting like rave reviews. It's Bryan Cranston, Steve Carell, and Lawrence Fishburne. And
this is
just recent from last year.
But it's like somebody directed it that never directs movies like this. It's not Michael Bay, but it's somebody like that. It's like Roland Emmerich, not Roland Emmerich. Who is it? Find out who directed this movie, because it's somebody. I remember being surprised that they were making a movie that looked like it had awards potential.
Richard Linklater.
Okay, so yeah. So again, I'm sorry, Richard Linklater, for comparing you to Michael Bay. That's not what I meant. I just meant this didn't sound like a typical Linklater film.
But yeah, they're all kind of linked together, I guess, because they've lost somebody in combat, and they're traveling to go see one of their sons that has died in combat. And apparently, it's got some touches of humor. And Richard Linklater, man, I'm on board with really anything.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to get into this a little bit later when we do the recommend and warn. But Bryan Cranston, man, he's turning into a hit or miss guy for me.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And it's not like his name alone doesn't necessarily mean what it used to right after Breaking Bad for me. For me personally.
Yeah, I think you're right. Meet the People, which is a Lucille Ball movie. I haven't seen that either.
I think I've seen it like with my grandmother forever ago.
I saw Meet the Feebles.
Yes.
Not shot in Delaware.
It's New Zealand, isn't it?
It's shot in a dirty ass bathroom for most of it.
Yeah, and then you have to include Meet the Deedles in there too.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So you have to watch those back to back.
That's a triple feature right there. Meet the People, Meet the Feebles, Meet the Deedles.
I would say watch Meet the Deedles first with your kids, and then don't watch Meet the Feebles with your kids
or at all.
Yeah. And then one other one here, Survival of the Dead, which was the last film of George A. Romero.
Yeah,
never saw it.
I never did either. Last week we were talking about Day of the Dead and we were trying to figure out what the fuck that was. Apparently that was, it's a really good, of the Dead movie.
It's got good reviews. Came out in 1985, which we were getting it confused with one of the later ones that came out.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many of the Deads, but I mean, I hate it when I miss one of these because it feels like I should know that, but I just didn't.
Can I ask a question? Does Romero have the reputation he does because of his filmmaking techniques or because he was a pioneer with zombies?
I think both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched the first one he made. Which one is Dawn of the Dead or which was the first one?
Well, the first one is Night of the Living Dead, which is not good.
No. Well, okay. Well, then
I didn't.
So they got better eventually? I watched that one and I was like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, I think he realized that he had something with political.
Yeah. There's a social commentary.
Yeah. And Night of the Living Dead has a little bit of it for sure. Like racism and stuff like that.
Yep.
But like Dawn of the Dead comments on your consumer culture and all that. I don't know about Day of the Dead. Probably something about war and shit. But yeah, he's got a few more other than the Of the Dead series too that he's done. He did Creep Show, which is, I mean, do we consider that good? I don't know. I enjoy watching.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think it's fun. Yeah. But you know, I mean, I guess that's what he's mainly known for. And
well, it's that and the practical effects that he used for the zombies, the shots that I actually like the original Night of the Living Dead. But the shots that he has and like his editing style, like I see it as very forward thinking, I think.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's just me.
Yeah, and you know, there's probably, I mean, I've heard of his name so many times, and I've wondered that same thing that you just asked. What is he really famous for?
Yeah.
Is it because he sort of introduced this genre to all of us, or is it because he's really, really amazing as a filmmaker? And I think it's maybe a little bit of both. Like it's
it
mainly
dropped off
that
towards the end.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
mainly that he's a pioneer, and then after that, you know,
I'm not even saying that's not a fair reason to give him credit or put him in the Hall of Fame or whatever the fuck we're doing. I'm just saying I don't know. I never saw anything of his movies that made me go, God damn, he's the next Spielberg.
No, yeah, it's a different.
But I don't
might
think-
have some Walking Dead baggage because
But I
I
don't-
watched Walking Dead and I'm just like, you people watching the show just like gore.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to try to say would have been the next Spielberg or anything like that.
No,
I know what you're going for, but I want to make that clear that
Yeah.
I don't think he ever was going for Spielberg status. I think at best maybe Wes Craven status, you know. But Who knows?
And he's probably right up there.
I'm sure there'll be people on Facebook who inform us all that that this is the reason why he's famous. This is the reason why.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the argument for it.
I would too. All right, so we can go on to Florida.
Florida.
Delaware,
We're
you're
done.
done. Step off, Delaware.
Somehow we talked for more than 5 minutes about Delaware.
Frank will be happy.
Pretty fucking amazing.
You can actually drive from one side of Delaware to the other in less time than that.
Florida is another one of those states. It's huge.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's a big state, and a lot of things have been shot there.
Well, because it's got so many different geographical looks.
Mm-hmm.
You can do the Everglades, you can do the beaches, you can do the Keys, you can go to inside the state and make it look like any suburban.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Some sort of backwater. You got Miami as your big city. Obviously Bad Boys is what immediately comes to mind whenever you say Florida to me, because that's as Miami as shit.
Yeah.
Both of those movies are. And Bad Boys 2. Oh my God. It gives me a headache even saying that. First Bad Boys is fine. Bad Boys 2 is,
yeah.
It's a lot of pain associated with that movie.
Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about with Florida?
Well, Any Given Sunday took place in Miami for the Miami Sharks, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
I still struggle with this movie. I think I hate it.
I do.
But I still watch it whenever it's on for some reason. I don't know. I don't get
Matthew
it.
Modine.
Maybe so.
That movie is just. I don't think Oliver Stone knows jack shit about football.
It doesn't look like it, does it?
No.
Well, that's one of those things where like every hit is a bone crunching, amnesia inducing hit. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know how many sports movies ever really get it right, because they don't want to hurt anybody. And then of course the actors themselves are not well-trained athletes. A lot of times they'll get people from, like retared Major League Baseball.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, they'll get those people and everything, but they're not going to be in there like, Taylor's not going to be in there giving a Joe Theismann hit to Jamie Foxx, and, so like a lot of times, it looks like they're pulling their punches, even on the big hits and everything, that it's editing that's helping that out, and like sound and all that.
Plus, especially that last playoff game that we see where Willie Beeman has to come in, the uniforms don't look like football uniforms.
No.
Yeah.
The logos, the stadium doesn't feel like a football stadium. It's almost like he doesn't understand football.
Well, and that's one of those things too, where they didn't want to pay the fee,
right,
to be an NFL, and I think they may have wanted the NFL,
the
but the
NFL didn't want anything
anything to do with it. That's what.
Well,
it was.
yeah, because it basically shows all of the ugly side of football.
Well, LT's character is pumping himself full of drugs to reach a bonus, and the medical staff are doing it for him.
That's my ultimate problem with this movie, is that nobody is likable in this movie. Cameron Diaz, Al Pacino, James Woods for sure, Aaron Eckhart. Like I don't like anybody in this movie. I guess we're supposed to like Willie Beeman, but
no, he's kind of an asshole.
He's kind of an asshole, like Dennis Quaid. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't like any of these people.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's not really anyone to root for. I feel like that happens a lot in Oliver Stone movies.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, we could talk about Scarface that takes place in
We
Miami
could,
too.
yeah.
Talking about unlikable people.
We could probably do a whole segment just on Miami.
Well, there's when I looked up the movies in Florida, there's a whole subsection of Miami movies, and I listed that separately. But I guess Scarface is going to be one of the most iconic Miami movies that there is out there.
That's where Miami was a pussy waiting to get fucked.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of pussies waiting to get fucked, the Birdcage takes place in Miami.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh man! You weren't ready for that one, were you? Oh, your kids are gonna love it.
That's right.
The bird. I actually didn't remember that the Birdcage happened in Miami.
Man, it's Miami as hell because it's specifically tapping into Well, first of all, a lot of the establishing shots are like Miami porn, but then specifically like the whole like gay club subculture, which is very strong in Miami from what I understand. I can't think of another movie that ever kind of gave me a glimpse into that world behind the scenes.
You ever been to Miami?
Nope.
Man,
I had to think.
It's an awesome city.
I've been to Florida like a
Been
million
very
times.
close to it before, but I've never been inside.
Oh man, all the like cliches about like South Beach and all that stuff. I was there, I think in like March, and of course it was perfect weather. There's people walking around in no clothes around South Beach. It's gorgeous. The people are gorgeous. The food is amazing. Like it's really really a
and it's
beautiful city.
doomed. It's going to be one of the first major U.S. cities underwater.
Yeah, well, that's you got to party while you can.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just saying they should start planning now to move Miami inland.
Yeah,
Because I don't think Orlando is going to be able to live up to the Miami reputation once it's on the coastline.
The Birdcage is a great movie. I haven't seen it in forever. It's
seen
a
it, like-
remake
Yeah.
of a French movie, La Cage aux Folles.
No, it's La Cage of Follies.
Ah, there we
Duh.
go. There we go.
Yeah, I just watched this again. I love it. I've probably seen it 6 or 7 times, and it comes on every now and then on one of the movie channels. But everyone is really perfectly cast here. Nathan Lane and Robin Williams are perfect opposite each other, and they're sort of playing. They're each playing one extreme end of the gay male stereotype, I guess, if you will. But Callista Flockhart is great in this. It's one of her early roles.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman is phenomenal.
Oh,
in this.
yeah.
Diane Wiest is great. Hank Azaria steals the whole goddamn
Hank Azaria
movie.
fucking kills it, man.
And there's so many. It's not a punchline movie. It's almost a situational comedy,
Yeah,
if you will.
it's a farce.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I can see why you like this because a lot of the stuff is rooted in Frasier as well.
Yep.
It's very Frasier-y.
You're very several things happen, and eventually you realize, wow, this is a preposterous situation,
Yeah.
and I can't stop smiling about it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that. Also, by the way, funny that you mentioned Frasier, because Frasier's boss at the radio station, Kenny, is in the Birdcage.
Really?
He's one of the 2 National Enquirer guys who are following Gene Hackman's senator's family because they think there's some scandal. And they're
That's awesome.
eventually not proven true because Gene Hackman dresses in drag. I just spoiled the movie for you. Gene Hackman in drag.
Yep.
Snape kills Dumbledore. I actually, because somebody sent me a YouTube message last night. God bless him. If you're listening, dude, I'm sorry. He's angry because we keep sending movies he hasn't seen yet.
All right.
And I'm like, just 5 years and you're just now going to send me this message?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
Watch
you
more
can
movies faster.
You watch some more movies and binge us later.
Not
I
to
don't
mention,
know.
it came in the day after we sent Laura Croft Tomb Raider.
Yeah, yeah. You had
Timing could have been a little
you had
better.
17 years to watch that, bud. So there's other stuff from other than Miami and stuff. You have The Big Short, which has a small break over to Florida once they're looking for the bubble. Steve Carell again showing up, and all of them go down to Florida to check and see whether or not there really is a housing bubble and everything. And holy shit, do they find what? That's what's so funny about it. They go through and they see all these people like that. Just you have the stripper who has 2 houses, and you have the one guy who's like paying rent in a house that the guy hasn't paid his own mortgage on it, and all this other type of stuff. But like after the stripper thing, Steve Carell, like the scene cuts and he's on the phone. He's like, "Yeah, we're in a bubble."
Aren't we headed to another one? Like, I feel like I read a couple articles recently that the housing bubble thing is going to repeat itself here soon.
I mean, it generally does. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
But speaking of housing bubbles, did you ever see The Queen of Versailles?
I did.
Yes.
I love this movie. It's a documentary
hard
about.
to watch.
Oh, you think?
It's hard for me to watch people that are that stupid.
Yeah. What this movie does, though, is it ends up in a completely different place than it
because they
starts.
were filming before they lost all their money, right?
Right. But I have never seen somebody that could be construed as a villain turn into the hero at the end as dramatically as this. Because that whole the whole after the climax where they're not destitute, they're not broke, but they just can't keep adding on to this house. And you start seeing the characters are revealed, these two this couple, and it's really engaging.
No, I
especially at the
agree.
end.
I agree. It's just
Yes, they are stupid, or at least she is.
She is. Yeah, it's like watching the Kardashians for me. Just like you haven't really earned my attention.
Right.
Are we still on Miami?
I mean, we're just in Florida in general. There's a ton of Miami we can talk about.
A ton of Miami. Well, I was just going to bring up Donnie Brasco, which is one of my favorite movies to put on. It's one of those movies I can pop in at any time and pop out whenever my life needs me to. But they spend a good chunk in Florida.
They do.
And it's one of those movies is a lot like Out of Sight, which also spends a good chunk in Florida, that I feel like is very intentional about trying to put its characters in a dramatically different setting, to use different methods to show you their character traits. Because Out of Sight is almost half Miami and half Detroit.
Yeah.
And completely different vibe and look, but still cohesive movie. And Donnie Brasco's like that. Basically, the feds, well, I don't want to spoil the movie if you've never seen Donnie Brasco, but all these gangsters go down to Florida, and it's kind of fun to see them go down the slide. And
it's great. That pool scene is hilarious where they're dressed in New York attire, but like swimsuits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very clearly New York mobsters at a Florida
exactly.
pool.
Yeah.
Especially Lefty. He sticks out like a fucking sore thumb.
He does. And I love the Florida part in this movie, too, because this is where Lefty gets crushed. This is where, and I think the movie spends more time in Florida than we remember, because there's the whole thing with the King's Court, that club, and the lion, and the cops raiding that. But then there's the whole subplot about the federal boat and renting the boat so they can take the Florida gangster out and wine and dine him. There's that whole story where Donnie goes to the hotel to talk to the feds, and it's the same hotel where the other dude is buying cocaine he's not telling the boss about. And, but anyway, on that boat with shit, I thought I was going to come up with the mobster in Florida's name off the top of my head.
I don't remember his name.
Traficante.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that scene is where Lefty gets crushed, where Sonny Black basically takes Donnie Brasco from Lefty, and Lefty realizes, like, I'm never gonna be the man ever. Like, he kind of already knew it.
Yeah.
But in that moment, he learns it for real, and he's like, "Get out of my sight! Go to the bow, Donnie.
You know where the bow is? I'm in the stern. You go to the bow. All right.
I don't even want to look at you."
It reminds me also, Goodfellas has a little, I don't know if they shot any of it in Florida, but there's a little break in that movie where they go down to Florida because they have to shake somebody down. And then they threaten to feed the guy to the alligators, and he's like, and they must really feed people to the alligators down here, because as soon as we did that, he's on the phone.
Speaking of alligators, I emailed Barrett about this. I left you off because you don't own a smoker. But I was watching Naked and Afraid the other day, and there was this guy whose partner quit and left him alone, and he killed an alligator by himself, and then he built a smoker out of grass and like palm leaves. He spent hours building a smoker.
I imagine his whatever rating at the end of that episode was like 100, right? Once you kill a gator and make your own smoker.
I mean, he was almost insane, sitting there giggling while this basically put a headless gator in the smoker. And he was like, "It's going to taste better this way." It's like, wow, you
Jesus
are an alpha male.
He may be naked, but he is not afraid.
No.
If we're going to stay in the gangster territory, we can also talk about Get Shorty, which we missed in California. Another one of the many we missed in California, but it starts off in Miami. And so there's a brief. I mean, I guess it's brief.
Well, Chili Palmer is from Miami. Like he's the hitman in Miami, right? Or is he he's a loan shark, right?
Yeah, he's a Shylock.
Shylock, yeah, exactly. But this is where he punches dude in the face, right?
Yeah, it's I think at the very beginning is where they're at the restaurant, and then Dennis Farina's character takes his coat,
right,
and then he goes over and like it's the best scene ever. Like he comes over and opens the door and like immediately gets punched.
I think
that
all the
scene
scenes
so
where
much.
Chili Palmer beats ass are awesome.
Oh my god!
Especially the ones with Tony Soprano. Fuck.
Oh yeah, James Gandolfini.
Oh yeah.
Look at the stairs in that restaurant.
He's always so calm about everything too, and God, I could go on and on about Get Shorty. I love so many different things about it.
Yeah, it's great.
But
Doesn't he go over and talk to Gandolfini and like he ends up having a conversation?
Well,
with
Yeah.
him?
he beats
Look,
his ass in the parking garage, and then they start having a heart-to-heart.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, you want
yeah.
to waste your whole life doing this kind of
yeah. Yeah, I think all that beginning part starts in Miami. Then he has to go and look for David Paymer's character, who's scammed the airline out of money and everything.
Poor David Paymer.
I know. David Paymer, there's so many movies where he is like pushed to the side.
Ocean's 13.
Yeah, Ocean's 13. He's really
He
pushed
just
to the
gets
side.
dumped on that
Oh,
movie.
Yeah.
for no fault of his own.
No, he's not even a bad guy. He's just a guy that happens to be in that room.
That does lead to one of the best endings, though,
Yeah,
because they rigged that machine for him
Yeah.
to win the jackpot at the end and everything. Yeah, we missed Get Shorty when California came along, but we'll talk about it here where it's barely in Miami for a little bit. Anything else that stands out to you?
Finish up Miami, I guess. And
Okay.
There's something about Mary.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very Miami
Playing the
movie.
Dolphins, you dumbass.
But yeah, I mean, it's another Cameron Diaz movie in Miami. He has to make his way down there and everything.
One of the best cameo setups ever.
Oh, for
Yeah,
Brett
because they
Favre?
keep saying
Yeah.
Brett.
My boyfriend Brett or whatever.
It's kind of like Tropic Thunder where they keep saying Lance.
Yeah. Did you say Lance? No, I said Nance. Hey, everybody's gay sometime. It's Hollywood. Should I feel racist when I do an impression of Robert Downey Jr. doing a black person's
Yes.
voice? Shit, then I'm really racist. I'm the dude.
But outside of Miami is one of my favorite underrated movies that not a lot of people have seen or even like, Great Expectations. The remake in 1998 with Ethan Hawke and Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert De Niro. I love the feel of this movie. I love the vibe. I love the music in this movie. It's Alfonso Cuarón, one of his early things, and it's just magical.
You know, for me, it feels. I actually went back and watched it. I don't know, a year ago. Whenever you raved about it on the podcast, and I thought you were stupid.
I still am stupid, of course.
It very much feels like a movie that a great director made who hasn't gotten all of his shit together yet.
Mhm.
Like, because I get what you're saying. There are these ethereal moments where you can see the talent behind the camera, but the movie just has all these holes for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a character hole because Ethan Hawke's character does kind of 180 very, very quickly, and some of his dialogue is a little stilted. But like Anne Bancroft and Chris Cooper, like there's some really great performances in here.
Also, never would have crossed my mind that was set in Florida.
Yeah, no, it's set in Sarasota, which is a part that you don't usually see. There's a little bit of swamp around. It's like old money, big mansions, things like that. But there's a huge disparity in the rich versus the poor. And this is kind of the story of, much like Great Expectations set in England, of him coming out of there and using his talent, which is as an artist, to make it into New York and all that stuff. So
Speaking of Chris Cooper and swamps adaptation, how'd you like that segue?
Man, we can do a
Good one.
Yeah.
Like there aren't enough movies set in the Everglades, I don't think.
No, I agree.
I think I went to the Everglades. Have you ever been there?
I think I have.
I went there when I was a teenager. My family we actually were going to the Florida Keys for an extended vacation, but we spent a day going through the Everglades. I was scared to death.
Did you see any gators?
Well, yeah, but I was more afraid there was like a 70-foot like python
Yeah.
under me. Like I didn't go very far from the car. Like my brother's all walking up to the edge and like looking at shit. But it's such a unique and different looking, ecologically speaking, geographically, it's like nothing else in the U.S. You feel like people would take more advantage of that from a filmmaking. Maybe it's just really hard to shoot a swamp.
Yeah.
People keep getting eaten.
We
But-
need more extension cords.
I don't think it's ever been shot more beautifully than in an adaptation.
Oh, no, I
because
agree.
they obviously either they get into like a really tiny boat or something, or they actually have somebody crawling through that because they're going through the swamp. Well, maybe they're not. Maybe it's movie magic, and they're not going through the swamp there.
Hey,
but
the Titanic in Titanic was not real.
shit.
Actually, it was. He built a huge replica.
Yeah. But adaptation is another movie that we probably can't stop raving about on this. We've talked about it a million times, but another great and if we're going to be sticking on the Everglades here, we can talk about Wild Things as well.
Yeah.
What do you think of that movie?
That I just saw it. I just saw it.
I just saw it 2 weeks ago because I hadn't seen it in ages.
Is the perfect trashy movie.
It knows it's trashy, right?
It very much so knows.
Good.
It is. It's not one that you would recommend to everybody,
yes.
right? You have to be in a certain mindset to want to watch that movie.
Well,
now, Wild Things came out. Denise Richards being naked was my only reason for needing to watch that movie.
Well, and okay. Well, since you said that, I don't think I can look worse than you.
You can't look worse than me no matter what.
But I had the biggest crush on Neve Campbell at this point. Neve Campbell, however the fuck you say it. So I had a crush on her. Never bothered to learn how to say her name.
Definitely Nev.
And it's stark how not naked she is in that movie.
Yeah.
When even Kevin Bacon's getting naked in this movie. Everybody's getting naked except her. Mm-hmm. And whatever age I was, 21, 23, somewhere around in there. I was kind of offended by that.
Which, it is kind of weird when everybody's going for broke and then the one person decides, no, I'm not going to do it. And then later on, she does it all the time.
Yeah, she's definitely gotten naked later.
But
at this point, I think she was too close to her Party of Five fame and didn't want to.
It was right after Scream when this came out. And I don't even know. Let's see. Wild Things came out in 98. So she was definitely a name by this point, and I don't know, it wasn't going to be anything that hurt her in any way. I don't think, but anyway.
We just talked that long about nudity that didn't even happen. By the way, I think Denise Richards is the only person in this movie that they didn't tell this was an intentionally trashy movie.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They played it straight with her.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell a lot of times. I know. I don't know how you don't know when you're doing the things that she's doing in this or whatever. But the horniness aside, this movie is trashy fun, and I can watch it anytime it's on.
Well, and it's one of those there's 7 different carpet pulled out from under you moments in this movie.
Yeah.
Where, you think, oh, that's the big twist, and now I understand. No,
there's always more.
Keep watching.
There's more twists. Yeah. Getting aside from that, because that's what in 1998 I was 21, and that's all I watched that movie for.
Sure.
Was just
and you probably enjoyed it.
Nice titillation. That's great. And but then later on, when you don't really care that much about that stuff. It's just one of those type of movies that it's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. I don't think that plot could possibly happen.
Oh no.
There's no way.
If we sinned that movie, we would break the counter.
Oh, we would.
Yeah, because it's impossible. The shit that happens. By the way, for a while there, it felt like this was going to be its own subgenre.
Yeah.
Because around the same time, they had that movie Palmetto.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that
Palmetto.
movie?
Which also is in
also
Florida.
shot in Florida.
With Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
And it has that.
Elizabeth
it's a little,
Shue?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a little less campy.
Yeah.
And a little more just straight trashy.
Mm-hmm.
But that whole Everglades, palm trees, Florida, sex and fucking.
Yeah. Sex and fuck, yeah. That's right.
Those are two different things.
We're going to go down to Panama. We're going to have a lot of sex, and we're going to have a lot of fucking.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, continuing along with that, The Waterboy, which was a Louisiana set movie, was actually shot in Florida.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that was set in. They shot that around the swamps. And
by the way, that's the official movie where I gave up on Adam Sandler. That was the one where I went,
okay,
wow, you really have stopped trying.
That was 98?
You never really gave it 100%. You watch The Wedding Singer, and Adam Sandler is not giving it 100%. But he's given enough of a percent that he's charming.
Yeah.
And Waterboy was where he stopped caring.
Yeah, I think it was either 97, 98. 98 sounds right. But
yeah.
I think that's the bridge movie for me. I think Little Nicky is that for me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Waterboy has still got some sort of that anarchic fun to it, even though it's stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. There's some things in it that I like in it and everything.
You can find stuff in Adam Sandler. Like, I was watching Mr. Deeds last night, which is an otherwise stupid movie, but like the John Turturro character in there is really funny, and like there's some funny little antics in there. Steve Buscemi character is kind of funny. Like I don't know. I'm never like completely out. Maybe Grown Ups. I haven't seen Grown Ups, but I'm usually not out of an Adam Sandler movie. Like I'll get on board with parts of Anger Management and things like that. I don't know. There's some part of him appeals to me. But he rarely makes a good movie.
In the middle of all that, he did 50 First Dates, which I thought was a pretty
and
decent
Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, Punch Drunk Love and all that. But
We should do more of that.
But whenever it came down to Adam Sandler in this comedy that's not a romantic comedy or whatever, it was something, just really dumb. Like
Little Nicky sucked.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's some people who have they like that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I would rather watch You Don't Mess with the Zohan
Yeah.
than Little Nicky.
I think you're right.
And that is a
No, I would
bad
definitely
movie.
watch that
that's
over
a-
Little Nicky.
Yes.
And I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. I'd watch over that.
Well,
movie.
see, that at least has Jessica Biel in
Yeah,
it.
it does. It does. Too Fast, Too Furious was shot in Florida.
For better or worse.
Yeah, for better or worse. I'm just going to mention it and then move on. Ace Ventura Pet Detective.
That's a very Miami movie.
It
Yeah.
is. Miami's basically a character. Like lots of dolphins talk with the kicker and the whatnot.
Yeah, and the Dan Marino.
Dan Marino.
Yeah.
And with the concealed nutsack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not on Dan Marino.
Right.
I still do that sliding door gag from Ace Ventura, and my wife and I giggle like children, where he's like screaming, but he's closing the door and opening it, and intentionally muting his voice when the door's closed.
Oh yeah. One of the all-time 90s classics, Fair Game, was shot in.
I was just thinking about this the other day because they're running that Pepsi commercial that they ran on the Super Bowl that references all their previous Super Bowl Pepsi commercials. Hi, Brittany. And then there's that moment with Cindy Crawford, and the narrator's like, hi, Cindy. And for some reason, I'm watching this commercial the other day, and Fair Game pops into my mind, and I can envision the boardroom where they're like, we got the youngest Baldwin and swimsuit model. What could go wrong?
Yeah. I remember.
How did that movie get made?
It was about 7 or 8 years ago. There was an interview with Cindy Crawford, and they asked her, so you want to talk a little bit about Fair Game? And she's like, well, not really. I mean, and he's like, do you remember? He's like, who was the director of that? And she goes, exactly.
Well, I was just going to say, I've probably rented that movie at Blockbuster 2 or 3 times.
Right.
Probably watched it once.
Yeah.
And or all the way through once.
Yeah. Exactly. Other time
She
was.
doesn't even get naked in that movie.
Yeah, she does. Yes, she does.
Well, I didn't know.
That was the selling point of that
Must
movie.
not have been memorable.
It's
then.
on the train when they're like they're in that car.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just remember her in a tank top and me being frustrated. I must have missed that.
No,
scene.
there's a sex scene like they're on a train, and yeah, that's where that was the main selling point for that movie.
All right.
I really don't remember
It was
anything
like, oh
else. from that.
boy, Cindy Crawford. We've talked
For
a lot
me-
about nudity tonight.
For me, yeah, we're just going to call this a pervy podcast because I'm about to bring up Sliver.
Yeah.
For me, I always think of Fair Game as the movie starring that guy from Sliver.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
That was a good right, Kate. Yeah. So I'm looking at some others here. I see Armageddon. I guess the launch stuff was it was there. Not really like a lot of stuff or anything,
Right.
but let me look at. I saw a few on my list. Edward Scissorhands was shot in Florida,
Interesting.
suburbs of Florida. In that movie, you would never think
Nope.
that was a Florida movie, but it was shot. Some of them there. Caddyshack.
Yeah. That's a big
the
one.
golf course, the entire thing was in Florida. Partly The Bodyguard was shot there. True Lies, the bridge scene in True Lies was shot. We've got 2 bridge movies. 2 Mission Impossible was shot in
Oh, I
Delaware.
think that was even a Florida Keys bridge.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah,
At least they're saying it was. But
Gotta tell you, for a 15-year-old boy, Florida Keys, not a good destination for vacation.
Really?
What is there?
There's people and there's beaches.
There's hardly any people.
Oh, well, Key Largo.
Beaches, sure. Beaches all up and down Florida. You want to know what I saw in the Keys that was memorable? key deer.
Oh, interesting.
They have these in the state park in, I think, Key West. They have these deer that are like, they're basically the size of puppies. They're full.
Really?
They're full grown. And we drove. Actually, it was just my mom and dad and I. I don't know what we did with my brother. But we drove into the state park just to hope to see them. We saw a bunch of them.
Really?
Look like little miniature deer running around.
Never saw
That's
those.
it. That and every other person you meet will tell you key lime pie is actually yellow, not green.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
It is good, but I don't need to be told by every goddamn cashier on every single key.
Yeah.
We went to the southernmost point in the U.S. Whoop-de-fuck.
Really? That's exciting.
Why is that? Not when you're 15.
I don't know.
When I was 7, maybe.
I
When I'm
went
15,
there when I was
I'm
17.
like, what am I going to do with my boner?
It's a good question.
That's definitely going to be the cold open.
We stayed in a camper on a public campground right next to the water. A tiny little camper, 2 teenage boys and their parents. Girls in swimsuits fucking everywhere.
Yeah, well,
It
you're
was
supposed
a
to go with them.
torturous vacation. I've told you enough about my upbringing.
Oh, yeah, I guess not.
It was a bad vacation. Sorry, I definitely derailed us. But again, I gave some more horny talk. So.
That's right. Midnight Cowboy that's the destination in Midnight Cowboy.
Okay.
Cape Fear. It was shot in Florida, even though it was set in North Carolina.
Oh, that's such a North
Interesting.
Carolina.
Yeah. But it's we'll obviously bring up Cape Fear when North Carolina hits, but it was shot in Florida. And then My Girl was shot in Florida, even though that was a Pennsylvania movie.
I would not have guessed that.
I would have not have guessed that either. That's the first time I've ever heard Florida substituting in for Pennsylvania.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there you go.
What about the Stallone bombing movie?
The Specialist.
AKA the movie starring that girl from Sliver.
Yeah, exactly.
Sharon Stone.
Also, one of the least sexy sex scenes I think I've
Oh,
ever
no
Yes.
seen.
kidding,
in
no
that.
Oh,
kidding.
it's a terrible sex scene.
It's like, I don't want to fuck either one of those people,
Back in the day, Sharon Stone, yeah.
but not the Specialist Sharon Stone. By then, she had already gone too far.
I don't know.
Did you like this movie? I kind of like this movie.
I
No.
did not.
No.
I did not like
No,
it.
no,
That was
and
fun.
double no.
No.
In fact, I saw it once, and all I remember is rage. Because you know me, I like a good trashy Stallone action movie more than most. But I was angry.
Yeah, you're Mr. Assassins over there.
Yeah, Assassins, Demolition Man.
Yeah.
I will take it as it comes, but not the Specialist.
Yeah.
Two big ones that are set in Florida that we haven't mentioned. Magic Mike
Yeah, Magic Mike.
takes place in like Tampa, Clearwater, that area.
Somewhere around there, yep.
Some place where people care about stripping.
You
Right.
know, yeah, that's a place where, like Sarasota with Great Expectations, that whole like panhandle armpit of Florida doesn't get a whole lot of like things shot around there. So figured I'd mention that. Magic Mike was kind of forgettable to me. I know it was a phenomenon.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, that was a weird thing for me. Like, Magic Mike was sort of advertised as this, like, finally the girls get to see like guys being naked on a movie, and we're treating them like meat for a change and everything. It really didn't turn out that way. And
Is there even any dick in that movie?
there's a shadow of one.
I was going to say, I don't remember any dick
Like
in that
two
movie.
shadows.
Shadow
I think.
dick.
There's shadow dick. It sounds like very covert government.
Actually, it sounds like an awesome form of kung fu.
Yeah, shadow dick.
Don't mess with me. I know
That's
shadow
right.
dick.
I went to Hong Kong and trained my shadow dick.
I know. I specialize in drunken penis.
Jackie Chan taught me the drunken penis.
And then the other one that we quote all the time is Spring Breakers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What a
Look at my
bonkers-
shit.
Oh my shit! That movie, I liked it more than most when I saw it the first time, but it has only grown on me.
Yeah.
It's a weird fever dream of a place to go, but
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Mhm.
There's something oddly, it's almost like a hug. There's something oddly comforting about the way this movie is shot, and it's edited like a dream.
Yeah.
To where it, time feels almost flexible. And so most of those girls aren't bad to look at, just to keep us in the pervy.
That's right.
I'm gonna keep us in that lane all
Although only Harmony Korine's wife gets naked in that movie.
day. That feels weird.
It's very weird.
Like, you're gonna have now.
This is a weird guy, though.
It is a weird. Yeah, maybe I should just stop trying to understand it when it comes to that guy.
He did Trash Humpers. So.
He did. He did indeed.
He's done a lot of weird.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably his most accessible movie.
Oh, it absolutely is.
And it's not very accessible.
Right.
Yeah. Like me some Spring Breakers.
Obviously, Cocoon was shot there.
Obviously.
We'll never get older and we won't ever die.
Yeah, that's one of the all-time like go-to. Like if you want to mention somebody's old references, you somehow find a Cocoon reference in there somehow. Ron Howard again. That's another one of those Ron Howard kind of okay movies.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to get done, and half of his career is going to be, he directed that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was in The Music Man as Ronnie Howard.
Wow.
I was watching because I did a 76 trombones outtake for the Taylor Swift video. And I was watching the intro, and little Ronnie Howard, probably before the Andy Griffith show, is in the march there.
My wife and I were watching TV, and somebody was playing the trombone. I forget what it was, but I immediately went into 76 trombones, led the big parade, and 110 cornets, reps. And she turned to me and said, "What's that?"
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, there's so many movies she needs to watch. We've been there for 10 years, and she's not really catching up.
Mm-hmm.
It's troubling.
Yeah, it is troubling.
I went and found the scene. I went and found the scene on YouTube and made her watch that whole song.
Well, you saw little Ronnie Howard then.
Well, I didn't know I was seeing him.
Hidden Figures shot down in Florida. That's the space program and all that.
Did you like that movie?
I did.
Yeah.
Really good.
I liked the double entendre of the title.
Yeah, totally.
Figures math, figures female bodies.
That's right. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or just them as human beings.
It's a play
too.
on words.
Yes.
Just burp into the mic.
This is a sneak attack.
Porkies.
Yeah. This is the part where I defend Porky's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
Go ahead, man, because Porky's is terrible.
Well, I agree with you. And that that iconic scene is, sexual misconduct.
It is.
It is also something that happens in high schools.
It's also something that happens in every 80s movie. It was like nobody thought it was bad back then.
Yeah.
Because it happens in every Revenge
I gotta
of the
be
Nerds.
honest. What are we talking about? Videotaping the girls in the shower or stealing their underwear?
looking through the peephole in the shower.
I don't think I've ever seen Porky's.
Oh, so what they do is a group of boys find a hole or drill a hole in the girls' shower, and of course they're all showering en masse in a large room where you can see them. And then they take turns looking through there, and eventually the girls are tipped off to it and just kind of like gather around, and one of the guys actually sticks his penis through it, and the teacher comes in and grabs it.
Grabs it?
Grabs it as in like...
Repeatedly?
Yes. She grabbed it repeatedly.
She grabbed it, let it go.
What I would say about Porky's is it has a lot more weight to it than it gets credit for. Like there's some drama in there. There's some pretty heavy moments, especially later on towards the end. There's kind of a message of bringing down, these
there is a nice
evil
little
racist
revenge
bastard.
Yeah, there's a revenge factor in there.
So yeah, it's not good, but it is weightier than you think.
You have the Devil's Advocate written down here.
Do they start out in Florida?
Is there any? Is it? Yeah, he starts out in Florida, right?
He's in like Jacksonville or something.
Right,
like that.
Like a hick town with a southern accent.
Yes.
But it could just as easily be Arkansas.
Well, it's definitely Florida because there's the beginning takes place where he goes through his whole trial, and they show that where he gets the rapist off. Basically, he gets.
God, man beats off cheetah with bare hands.
That's terrible.
Yes.
Anyway, he gets the guy off.
Is it? It's that really like weird dude at the beginning.
Yeah. But yeah, he gets recruited down there, and then he packs up with Charlize when she's still got her long hair, and they go by the church where his mom is, and the God of Truth will soon crush Satan.
Is that a song they sing?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought I had heard everything. Like I didn't think you could bust out like a conservative Christian hymn that I hadn't heard before.
I don't know. I had never heard this one, but I've heard it a million times
might
now.
not be a real. It may be something they wrote for the movie.
That'd be awesome.
Because that is the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so
That's
they
true.
may have just put that in there as a sort of a foreshadowing. Or
I'm not even sure I ever sang the name Satan in a hymn.
Well, he gets crushed.
But still, it's not the kind of thing you sing about often in church.
That's true.
Satan sucks. He's really, really bad.
Was he circumcised?
Was he cut?
I don't know. You mean you've been having sex with him every night? You don't know if he's been cut or not?
He's been polishing his knob.
Polishing his knob. That's right. This is officially the Pervious podcast.
Let's just embrace it.
I will embrace it.
But yeah, it's a very New York movie, but it does start off in Florida.
Paper Towns you have written down here, which was, I believe, Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
They made a big deal about that in Paper Towns.
How do you surmise that movie? Is it little girl gets cancer?
It's a guy who's obsessed with a girl.
I never saw it.
It's a guy who's obsessed with a girl, and they're in this sort of a relationship where they're friends, but she's wild and she wants to like experience a lot of different things, and he thinks that she wants to be with him, but then she disappears without a word, but leaves clues to where she went.
Oh, this is not a cancer. Oh, I'm thinking about The Fault in Their Stars.
Yeah, Fault in Their Stars is the cancer movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to go out of my way here to say that John Green is super talented and clearly knows how to write both teenage characters and for teenage readers.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of his books and movies run together for me. And that may just be because I haven't read them and I only saw Fault in Our Stars. But like when I walk through the bookstore and I see his titles laid out together, I'm like, they probably, in my mind, they all have a cancer girl.
He wrote this Love, Simon, right?
No,
he
but
didn't.
It very well
but
could
the
have.
the producers of Fault in Our Stars did this movie.
Maybe.
So I was just assuming it was a John Green thing, because when I saw the trailer, I was like, this is exactly how a John Green book would go.
Yeah,
whatever.
it actually feels exactly like his stuff. But no, I think his next movie is Turtles All the Way Down. No, that's his most recent book. I don't know. Clearly successful. I wish I was more like him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to put down his writing or his characters. I'm just saying from my perspective, my corner of the world, they all run together.
No, those movies do run together. I mean, paper. You have to. I mean, even though Fault in Our Stars is very different, like cancer and all those other stuff, it does have that same feel to it, or whatever. But yeah, Paper Town. Cara Delevingne's in this.
Oh yeah,
and and the guy, and she's. You know, she's, I don't know, she's one of these crazy girls in the neighborhood. The guy likes her and, thinks, oh, well, we'll be together forever.
Manic pixie dream girl?
Disappears. Yeah, she disappears and then leaves, like, clues or whatever.
What if nobody had tried to find her, man? That would be depressing.
Well, I think by the end of it, she's like, why did you come find me? You
left the damn clues?
Because I think that she says, I just wanted you to know that I was okay.
Oh.
And that was, and I didn't mean for you to come out here.
Interesting.
Which is weird. Why would you just say I'm okay and fuck it.
Yeah, pick up a phone.
Right. 13 Days was
13 Days.
I guess shot.
Yeah,
partly?
part of it when they're meeting in Miami or something.
That's
like
a good
that,
movie. I haven't seen it in forever, but it's about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yep.
Bruce Greenwood, baby.
Yeah, Bruce Greenwood.
President Bruce
Greenwood. It's Kevin Costner is playing is he playing a famous person in that?
Yeah, he's playing.
He's the fixer.
Chief of staff.
Oh,
isn't he playing the chief of staff?
He's playing the guy who solves problems, basically. Like
You're right. He's like not. He's
brought
not
in
an official
as an
appointee.
outside counsel.
Yeah, you're right. But I think he's a real person.
He's playing Kenny O'Donnell in that.
They killed Kenny.
That's right. But that's a really good one. The Cuban Missile Crisis is from what if you ever hear people who lived through that. They say that was like, everybody was just on edge.
Well, and I mean, you would have to be. I don't even think we can fathom it.
No.
Like, we all were kids in the 80s and caught just enough of that Cold War stuff to have a little bit. I did, at least. I had a little bit of fear of nukes and nuclear war growing up. Like, it was almost a certainty. Just when is it going to happen? But if you put yourself in the Cuban Missile Crisis, when the nukes are literally right off your coast, God, man,
that's
it must
all
have
right.
been.
They had the X-Men there.
That's right. That's right. You know what? I forgot about that. I forgot the X-Men stopped that.
Who plays the X-Men in 13 Days?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Because back in that day, God, oh man, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to do some research.
Man, I tell you what, the X-Men were involved in a lot of historical moments.
It's crazy.
JFK's assassination.
And I mean, there must have been like a MIB thing flashed in front of our eyes because it's not in the history books.
I guess probably we can wrap it up, but we need to mention Miami Vice.
Miami Vice for sure.
Because it's so boring. I don't know what happened with Michael Mann later on to where he made boring shit.
I know people who love that movie.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of like what would lead someone to like that movie.
I don't know. I know that I was in New York when this movie came out. And I remember it was me and some employees were watching Miami Vice, and there was a point where one of the ushers got up and said, "Corny shit," and walked out.
That's funny because I feel like the movie, if it was going to work, it needed more corny shit.
Yes.
Like it plays so serious with a property that was never really taking itself serious.
Of course, you also have to realize that that expression in New York is just more like dumb or stupid or what. It's not like where I that was my ears when I heard it. I was like, when I by that time I was acclimated to it, but corny to me when I first heard it, I was like, what? There's nothing like corny about that, but like that was just a common expression.
Interesting.
And people would say it was corny, and it just means that it's stupid. It's
We're
dumb.
all so different, Americans. It's a tapestry.
Oh yeah,
It's like we should go through each of the states.
that's right.
And
I see that a couple of Bond movies, License to Kill and Goldfinger, were shot partly in Florida. And Tomorrowland also shot in Florida.
Yeah.
One of the biggest disappointments.
Goldfinger.
He's the man.
The man with the...
Yeah. But yeah, and then Flight. I could say Flight would be a good one to mention there. And
and the Florida Project, which you
the
liked,
Florida
right?
Project, which I really liked. That's set in the sort of the outskirts of Disney World. It's like this area where just like it's just some severe poverty going on, and then like in the backyard is Disney World.
That's crazy.
And it's God, that movie. I have a hard time saying everybody go out and watch that now, because the Florida Project is one of those movies that can be considered slow, and it can be considered like, you know, not very much going on, whatever. But Willem Dafoe's amazing in it. The kids are freaking amazing in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a movie that you sit there and watch and it's like a big plot developing or anything. It's very, you know, like, I don't know, sketch almost a sketchy type of movie where it's just like a slice of life here and there, just some scenes that are, you know, not a big plot or anything, but really good. I really enjoyed it.
I'm in a weird place right now. This happens every year where all the big awards movies that I didn't get to see have come out on Blu-ray, and I've ordered them long ago, pre-ordered, and now so I basically have, over the last 2 weeks, I've got like 20 Blu-rays stacked on my desk of movies I really want to see. Recent movies that I know I'm going to like. Lady Bird, Florida Project. Basically everything I wasn't able to discuss during our Oscars talk with Aaron Dicer because I hadn't seen it is sitting on my desk right now, but I don't know how to choose. I don't know where to start. It's overwhelming.
I just you will have to start throwing darts at something.
I'm going to have to.
Yeah, and just say, all right, I'm committed to the dart.
Committed to the dart.
Suddenly there's a dart in my Blu-ray, but
yes,
I'll watch it anyway.
Should also mention the Moonlight also was shot. Shot there as well. If we're talking Oscars and stuff like that, Best Picture of 2016.
So this episode is brought to you by Mubi, right?
It is brought to you by Mubi.
Yeah.
It's brought to us by Mubi.
That's right.
I've seen quite a few since the last time we had one of these
You're
ads.
basically their best customer at this point.
I am. They have so many. This is the thing. This is a service, I believe, that has been carved out for me because because I have always looked for these sort of interesting films, and it's not really easy to know which one to go for, and it's not really easy to find them a lot of times. And what Mubi does is it curates sort of a grouping of films from directors and by theme and by a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And so recently, and they still have these now, the Louis Buñuel movies that are still on there. I've watched Diary of a Chambermaid, and I've watched The Milky Way. And I believe the last time I was on here, I talked about That Obscure Object of Desire, which is a fantastic movie. But Louis Buñuel's on here. But I watched The Milky Way recently, and that one's about, it's really an abstract type of movie. Lubin Wells, known as a surrealist type of guy and everything, but it's a religious satire. And it's basically these two homeless guys are walking around. That it's a sort of a pilgrimage path from this one area to another spot in Spain is where they're trying to get to.
Okay.
And as they walk through, they keep encountering all these people who believe they have like religious knowledge or something like that. Like they know what the Bible means, and they know what, all these, they know with a certainty. And there's a lot of just like really funny stuff. It's savage, man. Really, honestly, if you're like devout Catholic watching this movie, you would be very upset, probably.
Just a disclaimer.
Yeah, but it's one. It's reasonable questions. That's the thing. That's what makes really good satire. Like, there's a point where the two homeless guys walk into like a house, and like it was a house or an inn or something. And there's this one guy who's a priest talking to another guy who I can't remember what he was. It's like a constable or something like that. And he's talking about the body of Christ. When you eat the bread, you're eating the body of Christ, and he's like, you have to take that literally and all that. He's saying that. And so there's a point where the guy very reasonably, without challenging, one of the homeless guys comes up and he's like, so the body of Christ is, you're eating the body of Christ, right? So now what happens to the body of Christ when it goes down into your stomach? And then they're kicked out.
When I was a kid, my dad, we did communion, once a month or so. And I guess Catholics do it every service. I don't know much about Catholicism. Pardon my Protestantism. But my dad, when I was a little kid, I think he changed it when I was a teenager, but he would read like the King James version of some scripture. This is the body of Christ. And he would say, eat ye all of it. But it came out sounding like Ichi, all of it. And so as a kid, every communion I would start giggling, and my mom would be slapping the back of my head. Like, I didn't say Ichi.
Nice. I did. There is one movie on here that is still available as of when this posts. It's a Chilean movie called Plants.
Oh, yeah.
And it is really, really interesting. Like, it's bizarre in some ways. It's got this very almost blank character and this female protagonist, but it will make you want to watch until the very, very end. Like, there's a lot to unpack in
Is
this
it about
movie.
actual plants?
No.
That's an interesting title then.
It's about this girl taking care of her disabled brother and just gets into these weird, surreal situations. And man, it pays off strangely and satisfyingly, and it's really interesting. So make sure to try that because it'll be it's got 4 days or so left. And that's the thing about Mubi is that they have 30 days of cinema, and it's a rolling list. They keep adding one, they subtract one every day.
Yeah.
And we just said join us and sign up. So where do we do that?
It's at Mubi.com/Cinemasins.
MUBI.
That's it.
.com/Cinemasins.
Go to that URL, and when you do that, it'll give you a 30-day free trial.
Yeah.
30 days.
Yeah,
You got a
somebody
full
came
month.
on the subreddit a couple days ago and asked about Mubi, even though it had been a couple weeks since they had sponsored the podcast. They were like, what's that movie service they talk about on the podcast? So I linked them up with the /Cinemasins link, so we'd get credit, of course.
Yeah,
'cause I care much about credit. But, I think Frank from Twitter signed up and is checking some stuff out. Again, this is a risk-free proposition here. It's not like one of those deals where, like, we're faking you.
Yeah.
Hey, free for 30 days, but there's a catch. There's no catch. Just sign up and check it out. You don't dig the movies, move on with your life.
Yeah.
You dig them, I think the service is going to be something you really enjoy.
It should be known there. I mean, these are challenging movies a lot of times. There's stuff that is a little out there sometimes. Sometimes, I mean, they have even The Pianist is on here right now. I mean, so you even get some of those every once in a while. But, every once in a while you'll click on something and you're like, okay, I want to watch this. And then it's like, it's nothing you expected.
Right.
And that is both great and it can be like, whoa, what the hell did I just get into?
But you can always watch something else.
Exactly. You got 30 different movies to choose from.
Yeah, you're not going to find the hot chick on Mubi.
No, you're not.
Maybe ironically.
The Pianist is probably about as mainstream as you're going to get.
It's
and I wouldn't really call that movie mainstream either. But,
Yeah.
Check it out and try it for 30 days for free.
Mubi.com/Cinemasins.
All right, you want to do some ranting?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I'm as mad as hell!
You've never seen me very upset.
Lord Jesus! Lord Jesus!
Yes. Okay. Well, now that that's over,
I'll start.
Okay.
Because mine's non-movie related.
Okay.
It also involves Spike Jonze again, much like our last discussion did. Okay, so the Taylor Swift Delicate video just dropped.
I like
over
that
the
song
weekend.
a lot.
I borderline love that song.
I think, but here's the thing. I think we're so starved for a good Taylor Swift song because the first 3 or 4 singles off that album have been crap.
Yes.
That maybe we love this more than we should.
Possibly, but I think it's accentuated by the video. So the music video is really, really good. The conceit is that it's Taylor Swift. She's walking through a hotel, being noticed and all that stuff with security, and she goes to the bathroom. Suddenly, when she's in the bathroom, she disappears. Or she's invisible. And so she can go and move about the hotel and around as an invisible lady and do whatever she wants to. Obviously, what she wants to do is dance. And so she does that, and she's adorable. She's playing in the rain. She's jumping in puddles and stuff like that.
She's adorable because she's not a dancer. Like, she can pull off the moves, and she's always done choreography since she's been a pop star, but she's not a dancer like Paula Abdul is a dancer.
Right. Yeah.
So she looks like a real person just being carefree, dancing in the rain. It's imperfect in the perfect way.
Yeah, and it works really, really well. And of course, there's backlash to it. Maybe a day after it came out, people were comparing it to an ad for perfume, for Kenzo perfume. This is a commercial, like a 2.5-minute commercial that Spike Jonze actually directed. And it also features an actual dancer who's bored at like a conference or something like that and walks through a hotel room or a hotel lobby dancing. She's not invisible. She doesn't go outside into the rain. She's not singing. It's basically another woman going through a hotel dancing. That's the only similarity that it has to it. But of course, people are saying, "Oh, this video totally rips this off."
Well, this is the world we live in now. Is that we're primed to be on the lookout for the next thing we can have a controversy about. You know, it's like every day you read something like this, right?
Yeah, and
I even read that, like, a headline. I didn't read the article, but Taylor Swift's new video stars gay porn star in the background or whatever. I'm like, so she hired an extra in the background of the video who happened to have done gay porn, and that's a controversy?
I didn't see that part. But yeah, no, it's silly because we bag on Taylor all the time in music video sense, and we've been talking about how underwhelmed we are about this new album. But this is a really good song. It's a precious video. It's a good video. And it's like, man, find something else. Go talk about Look What You Made Me Do Again and how shitty that is.
Yeah.
Don't mess with the Delicate video.
It's so good a song that I was like, this has to be one of the ones Jack Antonoff helped write. So I went and looked it up. It's not.
Yeah.
In fact, Jack Antonoff helped write all the ones that have already come out that I hate. So I don't have the right ear anymore or something. But yeah, when I heard this, I was like, I even emailed you. I was like, I really like this song. Because I'd forgotten that we were planning to do the music video sins on it.
But quick, too.
That's stupid. I mean, we're spending so much time and energy as a culture on useless controversy. This is why nothing ever gets done. This is why nothing ever changes. And you see it from entertainment and tabloids all the way through to political events and the coverage of that. We're just constantly arguing. Forever. We're never going to stop.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my rant.
Yeah.
Boobs.
That's
Sorry,
right.
let's get us back to the pervy.
Yeah, it's been a while.
All right, I'm going to do a rant that is not original, but I'm officially mad enough. There are too many goddamn motherfucking trailers in front of movies.
Oh, yeah.
I counted. I took my wife to game night.
What did you have?
I had 8.
I had 10 before game.
I've had 10 before.
Now, 10 actual movie
trailers. Actual trailers.
They weren't like some. Hey, I'm Ava DuVernay, and I'm talking about Wrinkle in Time.
No, that was before
By
the
the
trailer
way,
package started. That was additional.
I saw that like 4 times now. 3 times because I went to so many movies with my brother. That thing where Oprah introduces it.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll see you on March whatever at Regal Cinemas when A Wrinkle in Time opens. And then it cuts to this like 2-minute behind the scenes thing. And it's full of the crew talking about how great the director is and how much of a family environment they had on set with the rest of the crew. I leaned over to my brother and was like, you think they realize I don't give a shit what the environment was like on set for the key grip? Like, I want the end product is all that matters to me. I don't care how kumbaya your experience was.
You think they got like a 5 extra ticket buyers after that. Like, I want to buy that. They had such camaraderie on the set.
The movie's not very good, but man, they really were
exactly.
a family.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway. So I had 8 trailers in front of my second viewing of Game Night. It's maddening because I am I'm basically a hostage here. Mm-hmm. You've already gotten my money. I want to see the movie I've paid to see, and you can show me anything and as much as you want, and 99.9% of the people are just going to sit there and take it until their movie starts. You don't want to miss the movie to get up and go complain about the trailers.
Yeah.
It's not going to do any good to complain about the trailers.
It doesn't make any sense. These people can look it up on their phones and see these trailers. It's not like you're not getting the message out. You could show like a condensed version of it. You could be more selective of it. Like there was a lot of shitty comedies attached to Game Night when I saw it. Like they looked just awful.
They all, and that's John Cena one, Blockers. There's the Melissa McCarthy.
That's the only one that looks
Melissa
funny
McCarthy
too.
Goes to College.
Oh, yeah.
There's 3 or 4 others that I saw.
Well, that was my main problem with the 8 trailer thing is that they all run together after a while.
Mm-hmm.
We watched some movie last year that seemed to have like it was, or was it I guess it was a couple years ago. They had like Miss Peregrine's, Miss Peregrine that had like like 3 other fantasy movies. And then once we came back to start recalling it all, we were missing, like we're saying some scene was from some movie and it wasn't.
Yeah, because it's like Fantastic Beasts and Miss Peregrine and like all these fantastic.
You're making my point for me. They're undoing what they're trying. They're being hoisted by their own petard because by throwing me so many trailers, they make them all more forgettable.
Yeah, that's my main problem with it. When I first started working in movie theaters, first off, Carmike didn't have they didn't have a limit. They gave us a trailer list that I never followed and nobody ever cared. But then when I went to Regal, the policy was 5 trailers, and that was where you stopped it. And then it became 6. And then once digital came in, it was like, okay, we'll add 1 more. And then now it's 8. And you're right. I think it will be at one point and you saw 10.
Mm-hmm.
There will be at some point where they're just going to be showing all the trailers they have.
Yeah.
I got an idea. I don't even think they're necessary anymore in front of a movie. They're all released online before they're in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
The anticipated movies, the tent poles, the blockbusters, all get hundreds of millions of views on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Trailers are running on multiple TVs with sound in the lobby of the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue there's a very small percentage of people sitting in that theater that need to be told what's coming soon.
My only argument for trailers is I guess it's a stupid one, but is that people who come in late can buy a ticket 15 minutes late, and that could be the reason why we're seeing 8 trailers.
But they can only do that because they've been conditioned to know there's going to be so many trailers. If we just made a rule, no more trailers, then people who come in 15 minutes late today would learn to come in on time.
Yeah.
Right?
They could, but you would still have people going. If this is the reason why we're seeing 8 trailers right now, is that they can open that window up for people to still buy tickets. They're always going to do that because that means 20 minutes more open for that ticket.
You're right.
Instead of you got here at 4:38 for your 4:35 movie. Well, too bad. 3 minutes of movie has already gone by.
Yeah, but I have to do math every time I go to a movie so that I can tell my wife what time I'm going to be home.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm like, all right, well, the movie starts at 7. It's an hour and 58 minutes, but there's going to be at least 20 minutes of trailers and maybe more. And then if there's an after credits scene, it fucking sucks.
Well, yeah, it used to offset. Like the amount of trailers would be somewhat equal to the amount of credits, but now it's fucked.
Yeah, no, and I'm sick of it. By the way, did you like Game Night?
I loved Game Night.
All right, good.
Yes.
Good.
I laughed harder at Game Night than I've laughed in a long time.
That was kind of how my reaction went.
Yep.
And then when it was about 2 weeks after I'd seen it with my brother that my wife and I went and saw it the other day. And it was just as funny.
Yeah.
Like, one of the reasons I like that movie is that there's so much packed in. It's kind of like Lego Batman. Mm-hmm. Like, you miss stuff the first time. And so, I was laughing at the stuff that I knew was coming because it was still funny to me, but I was laughing at stuff I had forgotten about already. Anyway, that's going to be my next. I've watched it 50 times. I can tell you that right now.
That fucking Denzel stuff, man.
And
I wasn't ready for that.
No. Well, and for where they took it, did you stay for the end credits scene?
Yeah.
That shit. I mean, my wife and I've been quoting it since we saw it, left and right. Oh, you're high-fiving Hitler? Anyway, so yeah, glad you liked it. There's my rant. You got a rant?
Yeah, I mean, a minor one. I mean, it's, I guess this sort of, I mean, this has always been forming, but I think I really started getting upset about it with Last Jedi and everything. Really, to each his own, guys. If you hate the movie,
yeah,
okay. I mean, at this point, why are we trying to change each other's minds? And why are we trying to make somebody seem stupid for either hating or liking a movie?
Or why are we trying to say a movie can be objectively good or objectively good or bad?
Yeah, I don't get that. I know that
it's art.
I know that there was a philosophy that Gene Siskel had, that some movies were inherently objectively good, and that if you didn't like it, that you were wrong and whatever. And I guess there are some movies that may hit that sort of level somehow. I don't know if you can really say that. I think the only way you can really attack somebody for hating or liking a movie is if they say, I hated Seven because they never told you what the killer was. And and then you're, or who the killer was. And then you'd be like, well, did you stay to the end? It would be like that. That would be where I would have an attack on you or whatever. And yeah, I don't understand people who like Transformers and the Furious movies and all that, but I don't have any ill will towards you. You know?
And we don't look down on them.
Right.
Contrary to what some in the public seem to think we are or we do. I don't judge anybody for loving the Transformers movies. I think they're crap. I don't want to see anymore. I wrote a whole goddamn parody song about Michael Bay and the Transformers movies 2 days ago. That's how bad I think they are.
Yeah.
But I don't judge anybody for enjoying them. And again, you were saying maybe there are some movies that do hit that why do I keep saying that? Objectively good. But first thing that popped in my mind when you said that was Schindler's List. Mm-hmm. But it's also a 3-hour movie in black and white. I guarantee you there are people out there that get bored by that.
Well, no, and I've seen negative reviews of Schindler's List because they feel like, and this is a valid argument, by the way, that they feel like Spielberg shot that movie with a little bit more excitement involved. Like he wanted people to really be riveted. So like he shot it with more of an action kind of feel to it. And the reviewers who'd say that say, well, it seems like it's a little disrespectful to what's going on for you to be kind of energized while watching it. Cause Spielberg does go through this like an action movie a lot of time, but still, even so, I mean, that's the problem is that even when somebody comes up with a valid reason to dislike something and whatever, people are like, well, how can you possibly, and all that. So I get a little upset at that. It occasionally happens. I'll see it on Twitter with, people writing into you and people write into me on Facebook a lot of times and saying, this is the way the movie should be. I like this part of the movie. How dare you, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I understand that you like it. I mean, there's respectful ways to tell everybody what they thought without saying you're a piece of shit, for either liking or disliking. And The Last Jedi was the big extreme example because I feel like that divided people right down the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I liked it, but man, oh man, do I see why people hate it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that people bring up with like, oh, I hated it because I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that stuff that I glossed over and liked in anyway and whatever. And it's like, so this is not a new, I know this is not a new kind of thing. I mean, like what you like, to each his own, all this type of stuff is not a new thing, but I feel like we have to be reminded of that. And when, these big movies come out and it's split people down the middle, then just respect it. It's great that we have different opinions on movies. Like even movies that are terrible and all that, like people who come out of the woodwork saying, I love this terrible movie. That's fantastic, man. Yeah. I love people who have that like weird movie, like, they like certain weird movies that nobody else does. I feel like that's what makes the movie industry thrive and why it's fun to be a movie buff.
Well, and it's, it speaks to the melting pot, the celebrating diversity that sort of, I think, is part of the spirit of America, even though America disagrees with me a lot lately. But going back to what I was saying a few minutes ago about how we're just constantly arguing and fighting about everything, and it's just extending into this world of movies. But I also don't think this is new. I think social media just magnifies this problem. Because I distinctly remember, I've told this story before. I don't know why this memory sticks with me, but I was a teenager. We were coming back from a Bible quizzing meet. I'm sure all of you have a memory you can immediately slide in place of that one. That's right. Exactly the same. But we're talking about a church van with about a dozen teenagers in it from 14 to 18. And somehow we ended up trying to figure out which restaurant had the best French fries. Mm-hmm. I kid you not, there was screaming and tears by the time we were done arguing about which restaurant had the best French fries. And honestly, it all came apart because one guy was insistent that Arby's did, and the other main guy he was arguing with said, "Those are seasoned. They do not count."
Wow.
And this was a screaming match argument. Now, granted, we were teenagers. Teenagers tend to argue, but that's a little microcosm. I think this kind of thing has always existed here, at least here in America, where our opinions are part of our identity.
Yeah.
And when you disagree with my opinion, it feels like you're dissing my identity.
Yeah, you're personally attacking.
Yeah, and it's not the case, and maybe you just have to be more active to not live that way.
And sometimes it's just the way it comes across over.
Sure.
Because as we all know, we can't really understand what text means in as far as emotion is concerned when somebody says something to us. So a lot of times I'll read something in text and I'll read it in my own voice that I think that's how they're saying it. Sure. And it seems like, oh, you're just making a huge attack on me, and then, feel compelled to have to say something back and everything, even though a lot of times people are just kind of like, they don't know how to make it sound a certain way when they're writing something. So.
Sure. Well, and it's like, there was one of our Twitter fans and Twitter friends, it was a couple months ago, tweeted something, and it was late at night. I'd had a couple glasses of wine, but I thought he was going to kill himself. And I DM'd him and was like, "What the hell's going on?" He was like, "Oh no, I'm getting ready to play this movie," and just he hadn't capitalized something or had capitalized something. Anyway, it read to me because of the way text versus speech, works. I can't hear the inflections. I don't know exactly what the mood is or the emotion, and I interpreted the text as like he's super depressed and in a bad place. It was the opposite. Anyway,
we want to go on to some news.
News on the mark.
Well, speaking of Star Wars, you want to talk about the new Star Wars news?
Yeah, go ahead.
Considering there's new Star Wars news like every fucking day.
Yeah.
So now
I don't even know what you're referring to.
Now, Jon Favreau is going to be directing a new Star Wars series.
Yeah, and I have thoughts.
Is this going to be on the Disney?
He's not. Yes.
Okay.
Well, they're going to come out. It's going to be on Disney streaming service. Yeah. From what I understand, he's not directing. He's
doing a showrunner type.
He's
going
to write it and oversee it. And that may be a good path. He's certainly done more good movies than bad. I don't have a problem with this at all. I want to talk about the stuff outside of it because there's been some backlash to this announcement. Two kinds. One was that they announced it on International Women's Day.
All right.
The other controversy is that another white male. Now, first of all, those clamoring for equality and inclusion across the board in Hollywood, you have to be patient. There are not as many women directors out there right now for them to hire, at least not with a track record that they would give this kind of a thing to. Hiring a white man to direct a movie, God, I hate how this sounds, does not in and of itself signify lack of respect for women.
Sure.
And announcing a hire of a male director on a day that happens to have been declared by someone to be International Women's Day.
Yeah.
I can't fault Disney for that.
There's
a day for every day. I'm actually pretty fucking sick of it.
Yeah.
Nacho Day, Taco Day, Love Your Pet Day, Rub One Out Day.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. Every day on Twitter, there's an official day.
Yeah,
and I don't know where the official starts and ends. I know Taco Day is not official. I know Talk Like a Pirate Day is not real.
Yeah, and
Christmas is.
Plus, they make it sound like there's some sort of weird optics to announcing some Star Wars news on International Women's Day.
Maybe it's going to feature like a female protagonist, like the whole
new stuff has been so far. I don't get that. Like if they came out and said new Star Wars, being led by our main white man, Jon Favreau,
Yeah.
that would have been a different thing.
Yeah. I agree.
Our main white man.
Our main white man.
No, I'm more like bothered, not necessarily by the matching or, Jon Favreau, I'm sure, can do a great Star Wars series. It's the fact that we're getting yet another one on top of this D.B. Weiss, Benioff, other trilogy. That's a trilogy too, right?
Yeah, I think
and
so.
then you've got, the other stuff that Rian Johnson is doing. So it's like,
That's
we
a
already
trilogy.
said that was, we're already getting too much Star Wars content. And then that was before this,
Well,
this
and you know
series was
what?
announced.
Now here is one way that I can see it from the other side here is if you're going to keep on introducing more and more, like, just, they're not going to be major films or anything like that, and you're just putting stuff on your streaming service and all that. Maybe it's time to give a black woman or a Hispanic guy or somebody like that a chance to do one of these series or whatever. I can see it from that angle. Like, because here we're talking about a TV series that I don't think makes or breaks the Disney streaming service if it's bad or good or whatever. So like, you can take risks in this type of thing. So
Look at Netflix. They're putting out 700 original films and shows this year.
yes, they are.
I mean, they know. They've done the math. They know a bunch of that's going to be crap, but enough of it will be good and popular that it's worth the total expense.
I've seen a lot of
Disney
crap
can
on
do the
there
same
lately.
thing, and here's the deal. We're in the minority when we say too much Star Wars.
Are we really?
I think we are.
Well,
I guess we have to be.
I was listening. I think it was Aaron on Sif Pop was talking about how there's way more Marvel than there is Star Wars right now, and I'm not tired of Marvel.
I am.
I'm tired of Marvel, but like, most people are not.
Right.
Well, you
That's what I'm
said
saying.
it when we talked about this with the Game of Thrones guys doing it. I think it was Chris that said it. Like, these movies used to be an event.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be something that you get super psyched for, even when it's something, diluted, like, Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. Even when we knew like those prequels were not going to be as successful, you still got excited for them because it only comes out once every 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And now once you have something twice a year, like, I'm not going to get my boner up for Solo.
No, in fact, I'm actually, if I have a boner, I'm going to lose it.
Well, I also think that Deadpool 2 may just destroy, like, even its second week may destroy Hans.
Okay, so here's something interesting. Apparently, another detour. Apparently, there have been a couple of unsourced rumors that Deadpool 2 is testing terribly.
Really?
That the studio and the filmmakers are flabbergasted. They don't even understand it. And then I saw a film reviewer address those rumors, a reviewer. And he said, well, I talked to somebody who said the opposite. It's testing really well, and I don't know where this rumor would have started from. Now, probably just shove all that out the window as useless information and just rumor mongering. There's plenty of rumors, right? Richard Gere and the Gerbil. I don't know why my mind went right there. It's Pervy Podcast Day, that's why.
It is.
Hashtag Pervy Podcast Day.
What are we talking about?
Rumors. Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Deadpool 2 may crush Solo.
I don't even think it matters if it gets bad reviews. Like, I think it could have a Rotten Tomato score of 17%, and it's still slamming that.
I'm curious to see what this because Deadpool, the first Deadpool was such a surprise, both in terms of its quality and the box office it reached, that I wonder if this sequel is going to do what traditional blockbuster sequels did in the 90s and make more than the first one, or
It as always, it comes down to how good it is.
Yeah.
If it's good, then yes, it will pass the original Deadpool. If it's not, if it's kind of like, then no, it will not. But the opening weekend will be amazing.
Yeah, and it'd be
then
big
it'll
enough
just
to make it a blockbuster
Go
still.
straight down after that because everybody will say, nah, don't go see that.
Yeah,
But-
and I think that might be changing, though, because like Batman v Superman and Dawn of Justice were largely panned by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And they both, now granted, the box office dropped huge week to week,
it's
but they still made a shit ton of money.
Opening weekend will always do well with these movies, but how you sustain is by getting word of mouth after that. Because Batman v Superman, I can't remember its total, but I think it may have been just under $100 million on its opening weekend because that was how disappointing it was.
Right.
It was either that or Justice League that did that. I can't remember what it was, but then right after that, it may have dropped 60%, something like that, which is still a decent second weekend, but it's leaving money on the table.
How much time do we know how much time there is between Deadpool 2 and Solo?
It's 1 week.
1 week.
Deadpool 2 comes out May 18th, and the Solo movie comes out 25th. Or, one of them might come out on a Wednesday or something.
And Avengers is coming in April now.
Yeah, April 27th.
And that's going to crush them all.
Well, it'll be died down by the time Deadpool comes out.
Black Panther hadn't died down yet.
Yeah, but I think 3 weeks and then Deadpool. I think Deadpool's gonna eat right into.
I was
Avengers.
talking with my brother in the lobby when we went to see one of these movies a couple weeks ago. I don't think Deadpool's going to be a very long-lasting thing.
Deadpool isn't?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. As perfect as Ryan Reynolds is in that role, and as fun as that movie is, I don't think there's a lot of new stuff they can do with that character. That character doesn't have growth. That character, I mean, isn't it always going to be shocking violence and one-liners and breaking the fourth wall? What else are the sequels going to give us?
We'll have to see what this. I will say that it has the trailers, particularly the most recent trailer, is so irreverent that it really tickled me.
I loved it.
I think it's even more irreverent than the first one because he's got a frame of reference to really bounce a lot of this stuff on. We had to go through an origin story. We had to go through some sort of, a characterization of, or like establishment of Deadpool in the first one. In this one, he can be completely unhinged. And I like what I've seen so far. Now, it may be too much and too indulgent.
Is that I think he's going to be too unhinged. There's not going to be that girlfriend cancer story to ground anything that we're seeing, and so it's just going to be one-liner palooza.
Well, it also could be, and again, we're speculating on a movie that hasn't come out yet, but it also looks like it may be sharing the characters around a little bit more, which I think could make it more rich.
I agree.
Using Cable
That's
more.
the only way you can, because he's just such an extreme character. Unlike Batman, you can't tell 12 different stories with Deadpool and have the mainstream audience stay connected. So I'll be curious because I think they got big plans because Deadpool has his own X-Force team that's like the X-Men, and I
think that's how you've got to spread the love around to make that viable.
Anyway,
I compare it a little bit to like Beverly Hills Cop. Almost. No, seriously, you have because Eddie Murphy is so unhinged in the first one and the second one, and like you let him play and let him do his thing and whatever, but after a while. Even in 2, you start getting to the point where like, okay, gotcha. And then 3 is terrible.
Yeah. It's like Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
His comedy's funny for a while.
Yeah.
And then it becomes annoying and I need a big break.
Mm-hmm. And Rush Hour went through the same thing. Rush Hour 1, Rush Hour 2, then Rush Hour 3 is terrible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you might be onto something.
Yeah.
If the movies are like this, if you follow that Beverly Hills Cop model where you let just an actor just go and do his thing and everything, there's only so many stories you can tell with that. Mm-hmm. Any other news?
I got one piece of news. I read about casting yesterday that really excites me. The upcoming film hasn't started, I don't even think pre-production yet. But it's called Pale Blue Dot, and it is not an adaptation of the Carl Sagan book, but it is. Natalie Portman was already attached, and now John Hamm has signed on because John Hamm and Michael Fassbender are the same person in my head.
That's correct.
They look fairly similar.
So John Hamm, a guy we've often talked about, we'd like to see him do more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie Portman, always great. Yep. Sci-fi. Basically, it's going to examine what happens to astronauts after they return from space in terms of, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure it's talking about the overview. There's a term, it's like called the overview, something when you've gone up into space and you see the Earth from there,
right?
And you have a new perspective on life and how small you are in the universe. And it's called something. It's called overview something.
Okay.
Overview condition or something like that. And I think that's what the movie's going to be exploring. But anyway, it's going to be written and I think directed by Noah Hawley, who did the Fargo TV show and the TV show Legion, which I haven't seen, but I've read really good things about.
Yeah.
So this is one of those projects I'm going to have my eye on, sort of like I watched Annihilation over the year that they were making it. Read about adding cast members because I wanted to see it before they'd even started shooting. I'm already in on this. You got Natalie Portman, John Hamm, and Noah Hawley. I'm there.
Interesting.
So I'm very excited about
Yeah,
that.
It's not
with
going to
that.
be like Astronaut's Wife or Species
I
2.
sure hope not. I sure hope not.
Yeah.
I
Those
sure hope
movies that
not.
are-
Or like Steve Buscemi when he goes space crazy.
That's
in
right.
Armageddon.
That's correct.
It's going to be a lot more like Supernova.
Yeah, like Supernova. I get it. I get you. I'm there now.
Remember
Yeah,
in
Astronauts
Supernova when
Wife.
they had zero gravity sex?
Oh yeah.
Was it James Spader and Angela Bassett? No, it's not James
Uh,
Spader. It's the other guy.
I can't remember that movie very much. I know that Francis Ford Coppola came in to like direct that movie like when it was having trouble.
Oh, wow.
Coppola came in to like doctor it. I don't know.
It watches like a movie
Watch
that
this.
no one directs.
By the way, when you do your research, you're going to find out that I'm just completely fucking wrong. And it's going to be like, just nothing like what I just said.
it was
at
actually
all.
Brett Ratner who came in and
Right.
did the fix up.
I don't have much news. I know that there was a Sopranos prequel. That's one thing that's
Mhm.
that's coming. That's weird to me.
Me too.
I don't know.
I mean, David Chase has done what?
Yeah.
Sopranos, and then he went off into hiding for 10
What
years,
has he done
and
after
he's going to
that?
come back to the Sopranos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now granted, from what I read, he's going to go back into the 60s, and there's apparently some real-world stuff between Jersey and New York, between, I guess, the Irish and
The Italians.
Italians, and he's going to play around, and that was a lot more violent and whatnot. And, if it's not going to be a bunch of winks and nods, if we're not going to see little Tony Soprano running around in a diaper, then maybe it'll be something cool, because he certainly has a grasp on that world.
Yeah, I mean, look at Vince Gilligan and Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Better Call Saul is great on its own merit, and it's actually when it ties back into the original series is where it kind of loses some steam.
Well, and
Yeah.
a lot of people don't remember that in between, Vince Gilligan did that Battle Creek show with Josh Duhamel that did nothing, and nobody liked it, and it went away.
Oh yeah.
They put out like 2 or 3 episodes. It's not like everything he's touched has been gold. It was when he went back to that. So maybe now, granted, he also wrote on the X-Files, so he's probably gold.
Yeah.
But he had a one-off in the middle there too.
Certainly, let's hope they don't do with James Gandolfini that they did with Nancy Marchand, like towards the end of the Sopranos, where they like found some footage
Yep.
and like that's one of it is one of the weirdest scenes in any medium I've ever watched is the Nancy Marchand, like because she had died.
Yep.
And they all this like weird fucking shit. It's like the who was in Gladiator that died during
it was the guy who trained Maximus.
Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed.
But there's scenes in Gladiator where they've cut stuff in that's from completely other different scenes.
Yep.
It reminds me of that radioactive man thing in The Simpsons where like Milhouse is gone.
The goggles, they do nothing.
But yeah, that was a minor thing. I had also Die Hard 6 written down. Die Hard Year 1 is going to be the next Die Hard. They've got Conjuring writers doing Die Hard, and it's going to go back and forth between the 70s and modern day.
Yeah.
McLean.
I could give a rat's fucking ass. I'll tell you what though, if you can get Bruce Willis to give a shit this time when he's acting, even 50% of a shit
Might be good.
might be good
Might
because
be
he
decent.
hasn't given any shits the last 2 times out.
No.
Basically, I think he's in a scene saying, "Give me my paycheck." I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's definitely scenes where he has just said it, and then that's the next line.
Yeah.
All right. Recommends and warns.
Yeah, what do we want to recommend?
Totes Amazeballs.
It won the Academy Award
Oh, for what?
for best movie ever made.
Briefly, I want to. I touched on this a few weeks ago, but I just saw it again the other day. Nobody's Fool. This movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
Got Paul Newman. I'm pretty sure he got an Oscar nomination.
Yes.
And it was one of those movies that my buddy Josh and I saw. It's set in the winter. It came out in the winter. I saw it in the winter. And my memory of it 3 weeks ago, and I was talking about it because I only saw it the one time in theaters and then one more time right after it came out on home video. And I haven't seen it since. It's like 20 years. And all I really remembered was Paul Newman plays a cranky old fucker, and he's great in the movie.
Yeah.
So it came on the other day, and I was like, I'm going to check this out. And like, it flew fucking by because everyone is so great in this movie. It's like Bruce Willis, of all people. And he doesn't have to do a whole lot here, except play Bruce Willis, but he's great. And Melanie Griffith.
I love me some 90s Melanie Griffith.
And, I think people forget that she's had moments of like really good acting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think she was filed by history into a pretty face from the 90s that married Antonio. Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, and she was married to Don Johnson for a while.
She was.
That birthed Dakota Johnson.
Yes, it did.
She's great in this, and to keep with today's theme, I should tell you guys she does show her boobs in this.
Does she now?
Okay.
She actually, Paul Newman's flirting with her the whole movie, and it's just kind of part of their rapport. And she's married to Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis is cheating on her, and she knows it. The whole town knows it. It's a small town. And he keeps joking about running away with her or taking her off and running away with her. And at one point, she just kind of smiles and lifts up her shirt and puts it back down. And he just kind of goes, okay. But Pruitt Taylor Vince is in this. Jessica Tandy is in this.
Yeah.
She's Paul Newman's landlord. It's really just kind of Dylan Walsh plays Paul Newman's estranged son who brings a grandson to town.
God, Dylan Walsh. Where is that guy gone?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I had to look up his name, to be honest.
Because he was on Nip Tuck for a while,
Yeah.
and then I don't think I've seen him since. He was in Congo as well. I think.
Yeah. And it's just a great small town slice of life family dynamic. If the same thing that makes Bad Santa work of all movies is what makes this work. Is that this cranky old fucker is lovable as hell. Partly because he's so funny and smarter than everyone else. And it's so much better than I remembered it. I 2 thumbs up.
Cool.
2 snaps in a circle, whatever I used to do on that show.
In Living Color?
Yeah. Just really forgot how great everything else around Paul Newman was.
Cool.
And, good stuff.
Check that out.
I don't know if we've ever recommended a book, but I'm going to recommend a book.
Oh.
The Bible?
The Bible.
All right.
Let's talk about the Bible. First off, Leviticus is amazing.
Oh, man.
All the good shit's in Leviticus.
That's
Hosea?
right. Hosea, for sure. And, Song of Solomon. In anticipation of Ready Player One, I have read the book.
Oh.
I didn't know what to think of the movie even before I read the book, because it looks something off about that trailer.
I agree.
And I can see why people are apprehensive about it and everything. And so with that in mind, I decided I was going to read the book first on this one, because I didn't want to watch the movie and then read the book later and have that sort of, if the movie sucked, I didn't want it to be one of those type of things where now, I read this book in 3 days. It didn't take me long at all. I thought it was really
What are you,
good.
freaking bragging?
Well, no, I'm
just
sure
kidding.
there's, no, I know you're kidding. I'm just saying, I'm sure that there are people who read it in like 3 hours.
Oh, I'm sure.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. And obviously I got it done really fast and everything. Something about, this is basically a scavenger hunt, essentially. This is what that story is and everything. So I'm immediately on board with that type of stuff. And of course it's 80s nostalgia and all that. That's another thing that's right up my alley and everything. So I read this book very fast and really loved it and everything. I do have some issues with the way the story goes a lot of times. I really enjoy when in a scavenger hunt situation, the characters have to think about where they need to go next and they're kind of thinking about it. And maybe even as a reader, you have clues that go along with it. There wasn't really anything in this book that gives you any clues as to where they're going to need to go next. And it is a vast virtual world that they're going through. So it's not like it's not like it's easy to do that or anything, but there's a riddle right off the bat and you read that. And a lot of times you're like, well, maybe I have an idea. Like I could start, thinking of myself what this could. It doesn't really give you that. It's basically,
you're just along for it.
Yeah. Basically. So the guy figures it out on his own and everything. Throughout though, and I don't want to give too much away on it, but throughout though, I was like, man, some things in there, like you'll in the trailer, you see the Ben Mendelsohn character. that's the main bad guy in that. And I have a problem with just the main, like just having a main bad guy in this type of movie. Can I just make the scavenger hunt the challenge?
Yeah.
And can I just make the other players the challenge? Instead, you have this one guy and it's this conglomerate that's kind of like a cable company or so. That's the closest that I can come up with, a cable company coming up with ways to sort of cheat the scavenger hunt. And so they're like actually getting through certain things before the players do. And it's like, I wish that it was just the players and just the players. And maybe you followed around each player and you sort of root for your own person in this whole thing. Other than that, though, but I'm it's a great book, and you will blow through it.
Awesome.
If you're into.
I've heard it referred to as the video Hunger Games.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I'm just joking. Nobody said that. I have read some reviews of the film because it has screened for critics, and it seems to be divisive. And a lot of what I've read that seems to confirm my fears is that it's nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia, at least the movie. Again, I haven't read the book. But that the movie seems to forget why we even loved these nostalgic things from the past in the first place and just throws a bunch of references at us.
Well, yeah. Well, like in the trailer, and we haven't seen the movie, but in the trailer, they show the Iron Giant, which is like, oh, that's amazing. Well, in the book, they mention the Iron Giant, but nobody in that book actually uses him in any way. It's something that they can select at some point. Now that's one thing that's about Ready Player One that's really interesting, and the thing that Elon Musk was talking about, like maybe we're all in a simulation or whatever. Like you could definitely, if they got internet and like programming to this kind of level and everything, you could get lost in that.
Sure. Well, and that's going to happen. I may not live to see it, but we already have augmented reality and virtual reality, and none of it looks real yet, but it will. I mean, my favorite image lately, by the way, is the first Tomb Raider game, Lara Croft, versus the modern Tomb Raider game, Lara Croft. Because she literally has like pointy triangle boobs in the first game. And that was only 15 years of advancement.
Pointy triangle boobs in the first movie, too.
Yes, she does. Somehow came up with it.
Some way.
You know who had some pointy triangle boobs is the girl from Sliver.
That's right. and the girl from Madonna.
The lead singer of Madonna.
By the way, I wrote it may end up getting cut, but I wrote a righteous Madonna joke in the most recent Sin script.
Nice. There you go.
Probably won't get cut then.
Well, I think it's righteous. Yeah. But that doesn't mean, because it's you and me doing the script. Oh, yeah. So I don't. Anyway, what are we doing? Rants?
No,
not rants. We already did rants.
You're on your recommend.
Yeah. So from Madonna to Malala. I've already recommended this before, so I'm just going to make a quick mention. The new episode of David Letterman's show on Netflix, My Next Guest Needs No Interruption, is Malala Yousafzai. Who is the survivor of the attack in Pakistan.
Yes.
That became this champion for women or girls' education.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. She was on either Colbert or one of these.
She's done a lot of the circuits and everything. She is super powerful. She's still I think just 18. She's just starting to go to Oxford, and it's an amazing interview. Letterman is still allowed to be, he's following her around as she's giving a tour to Oxford and just like joking around with the kids, none of which find him funny. So he's laughing at himself. He goes to dinner in England with Malala's dad, and he's having this serious conversation. And then by the end of it, like they bring him some fish and chips, and there's this break where he's like, did you chase this? He's like, holy crap, that's good. So it's irreverent and everything. So that's a recommend for sure. But my real one is I finally caught Logan Lucky. This is on Amazon Instant for Prime members, and it is very enjoyable. It's Steven Soderbergh kind of going back. It's very Ocean's 11-y. In fact, it literally references Ocean's 11
nice.
in the movie itself. Channing Tatum, man, like he's already like turned into an actor, and he's funny. But he's like I think just gonna be enormous. Like in a few years, if he's not even to that point.
I don't know. I think he's missed his. I mean, I think he's already there as like a big star or whatever. But I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where he sells a movie on his own.
I don't know, man. He's so freaking.
He might
talented.
be good, but I don't think I think he's always going to have that step up sort of. I don't know if you want to call it a taint of Step Up on him, but
poor choice of words.
I don't know. Taint.
Speaking of Magic Mike,
that's your problem. Taint means stain, man.
Oh man, he's so good in this, and he's playing a real character. Like this is Adam Driver is. A little bit more of a caricature, and Daniel Craig is Daniel Craig like you've never seen him in this movie.
Good.
He is hilarious. And it's just a really good time.
This is Soderbergh, right?
Yeah, it's Steven Soderbergh.
But not shot on an iPhone.
Not shot on an iPhone. It's a very enjoyable, like couple hours straightforward heist movie that just like got really, really interesting characters.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about it. I don't think too many people saw it, and I think it's in my stack.
Yeah, and it's on Amazon too, so that's definitely a recommend.
Yeah,
excellent.
Anybody got some warns? I have no warns.
I have a warn, and before that, I'm going to give a life pro tip recommend. That's not a movie recommend.
Okay.
I have now slept for 4 nights with a weighted blanket.
Ooh.
And it's something I didn't know anything about until about 6 days ago. I was reading an article on one of the Gawker sites, and it was about weighted blankets and how they can help you fall asleep. They can help you relax. A lot of people with anxiety use them. But even more severe things, like some kids with autism, I think, use them.
Sensory processing disorder. And
yeah.
Stuff like that. And
so I went on Amazon and I poked around and did what I always do, find the one with the most reviews that are good. And you're supposed to buy one that's about 10% of your body weight. So I bought a 17-pound one. I just gave away my weight.
There you
go. I am shocked how much I love this thing.
Cool.
Now, I don't know if you have any experience with these things because you've dabbled. I don't know if you've ever used one.
I have never used one. It would drive me crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I read that can happen to some people.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm in the womb.
Yeah. That's the way I've heard it described.
Like I got up to pee in the middle of the night, and all the way to the bathroom and all the way back, I was like, I got to get back in there. Got to get back in there. I got to get back in there. I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. I wouldn't say I'm instantly relaxed when I get in bed, but I'm relaxed and falling asleep much faster than I ever used to. I don't know the science behind it. I don't understand why it works. It was $130 for the blanket, so it's maybe priced a little high for most people. I'm not necessarily saying, hey, skip a few meals and go buy this blanket if that's the kind of life you're in right now. But man, night and day, I'm sleeping so much better.
Nice.
I never thought something so simple as a blanket with weights in it would make that big of a difference. I'm going to warn you against a little movie I just saw the other day called Wakefield. Bryan Cranston is the star of this movie.
I was looking at this because I believe it takes place either in Connecticut or the other Colorado or something like that.
It takes place in an attic, so it doesn't really matter where it takes place. And this is an adaptation of a short story that was an adaptation of, I think, a Hawthorne story. So it's been modernized. And what lured me in was the concept, and then Bryan Cranston and Jennifer Garner are the two leads. And basically this guy comes home from work one night, and instead of going into the house with his wife and 2 daughters, he goes into the attic above his garage. And he begins thinking deep thoughts. And the next morning, instead of going back into the house, he just decides to watch what they do without him.
He stays in the attic.
Stays in the attic basically the whole movie. And he begins to narrate, like Jennifer Garner comes out and she's obviously concerned, where's my husband? And she goes back in and gets the garage door thing and walks out to open the garage door below him, and he's narrating for her like, no, the car's still here. And he begins to have fun watching what his wife and kids and neighbors and coworkers do in his absence, to the point where it goes on months. Like they think he's dead. And it does not work. This is why I said the thing I said earlier about Cranston being hit or miss, because you can tell he's going for it here, and it is flat.
It's an interesting conceit. It's essentially like, being able to observe your funeral, like
Supposedly,
how people.
Yeah, that's again, the idea is kind of a cool concept.
Yeah.
That's what lured me in, but none of it works. Jennifer Garner's great, but all she's given to do for 99% of the movie she's in is be behind windows as he's looking at her and make emotional faces. And there's like a former guy she used to date who starts coming around again now that her husband's gone, and it makes Bryan Cranston jealous. And eventually he decides to go back in, and the movie fucking ends. It robs you of the only thing you care about. How do they react? You don't get to see it because the movie thinks it's some important journey of him, and it's not. Oh, God, I was so mad. Because by the end, I'm only watching to see their reaction or how he dies and doesn't go back in. And he actually imagines himself going back in well before he does it. And the imagined scenario is they all look at him and scream. And then like 10 minutes later when the movie's ending, he actually walks in the front door and says, I'm home, and it cuts to black.
Oh, man.
I felt personally violated.
That's the end of the story, though, man.
Well, and that's the thing, is it makes me think Hawthorne is a dick.
Yeah.
Because he didn't write an ending to be adapted twice over.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was clearly a passion project for Cranston that just didn't play out or work the way he expected. I would not waste any time on this whatsoever.
Thank you. You watched it, so we don't have
Really
to.
Frustrating.
I wonder how close it is to a real Nathaniel Hawthorne story.
It can't be that close because Hawthorne was writing ages ago.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And in here we're dealing with garage door openers and the internet and cell phones but yeah, he basically lives up there.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess not really interesting.
Yeah,
No.
He wrote in the 19th century. They didn't have cell phones quite then.
No. Yeah, you're right.
Like they may have barely had a phone.
Yeah. Phone. I don't really have a warrant either. Do you want to go into questions?
Yeah, let's do
Maybe
questions.
one or two
Yep.
quick ones here.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I'm listening.
What are some of your favorite movies within movies? For example, that R-rated gangster movie and Home Alone. Excellent choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. This is actually hard to answer.
It is, although more came up to my head than I thought would.
Well, that's why it's hard. It's hard to choose.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to say, I would say that one, or I would, there are a couple of obvious ones.
The
like
Angels with Dirty Faces or
Dirty Souls.
Dirty
Angel with
Souls.
Dirty Souls.
Dirty Souls.
Or Filthy Souls or something
Filthy,
like
yeah.
that.
It is filthy.
Filthy Souls.
And then the
Angels with
sequel.
even filthier souls.
Yeah. I came up with a couple here. Stab in Scream 2
good one.
is fun because they get to make fun of themselves with it and everything.
Heather Graham?
Heather Graham is the Drew Barrymore
Yeah.
at the beginning, and then Luke Wilson plays Skeet Ulrich, and Tori Spelling, of course, plays Neve Campbell. But they get to see the opening part of it where like Heather Graham like says stuff very woodenly all the way through it, and then you get to see Luke Wilson do that scene in the hallway that's so funny where he's like ugh, stupid. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was fun. I think they even do Stab 2 and Scream 3.
I think so, yeah.
They're filming Stab 3 and Scream 4, maybe. I'm not sure.
I didn't see Scream 4.
No, they are filming it in Scream 3. They don't have it yet.
Yeah, because they're
They got
going through the
sets
lot and everything. Yeah.
Hey, we talked about that before where the whole entire scene was cut out.
Yeah.
But I also the stupid film the kids make in Super 8 is kind of fun too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the end you get to see that during the credits and
Yeah.
everything.
Nice.
It's real fun.
That's a good call.
Anyway,
My mind first went to State and Maine. And again, this is why this was hard for me, is that the first 12 that I thought of, we've talked about a bunch. So I tried to dig a little deeper and came up with stuff we've talked about a bunch. Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder
yeah,
is a movie I would pay full admission to see 2 hours of that. It's the only negative thing about Tropic Thunder is that they did not fully make any of these fake movies that they have trailers for, or that. I just think Simple Jack would be a fun watch. We get to see play version. This head movie makes my eyes rain.
I want to see, what is the one with Robert Downey Jr. and Tobey Maguire?
The Priest. Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but they fall in love with it.
what is that one called?
But it's got that dim.
Yeah. It's Enigma. That Enigma song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enigma.
That's
I get them and PM Dawn mixed up.
Yeah,
Same thing.
And I also wrote down Chubby Rain from Bowfinger, which I've talked about Bowfinger a lot.
Yeah, Chubby Rain.
Chubby Rain is the movie. One of the reasons why Bowfinger is so hysterical to me is that Steve Martin's character is this failed movie producer. He reads the script to this thing and immediately loves it. Mm-hmm. And you know you're in for a ride with a character that deluded because he's savvy. He's savvy enough to get everything in this movie done that he does, but he's still dumb because he thinks he's like, great script. Great. This is a great script. Anyway, Chubby Rain would be fun to watch only because of the terribleness.
Yes.
I don't think too many of these movies within movies would actually be good movies.
That Tobey Maguire, Robert Downey Jr. thing is called Satan's Alley, by the way.
Satan's Alley. Jesus Christ.
It could have been called Beckoning Butthole.
Yeah, could have been.
I tell you what, man, I really like the direction that Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season is going in. And Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
The only thing I don't like about that scene is Ben Affleck.
That's the reason I like it, because it's like, whoa, are we going to have to go outside again?
But he's like Scooby-Doo in that scene.
It is way over the top, even for an over-the-top scene.
When he does that thing with his, like he's getting ready to punch, he does that thumb on his face thing. Yeah. At least Matt Damon is subdued in that scene.
I told you to be in here regurgitating Gordon Wood, and here you are regurgitating Gordon Wood.
It's a great...
Actually, I did read Wood.
Yeah. Now I'm up on shit you haven't even read yet.
Applesauce,
like Chucky. It's like...
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. I love Chris Rock in that scene. Because he's overly sensitive to racism, black director.
Well, that's the cock knocker one, the Jay and Silent Bob movie that they're making at the end.
Because it's Gus Van Sant counting his money on the other one. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There's no booger in it, sir.
Cracker?
I didn't put a booger in it, sir.
He's playing. What is Chris Rock?
Drink the booger.
Chris Rock's character is Shaka
Luther King.
Shaka Luther King. Yeah.
Drink the booger flavor.
Yeah. There's no boogers in it, sir.
Drink the booger flavor. Yeah. Here's a question. What is the dirtiest joke in a kid's movie, and or what's the dirtiest kid's movie? For example, the fingerprints gag from Animaniacs.
Yeah, there's a part in Animaniacs where I don't know their names or anything. I wasn't like
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Oh yeah,
no, that's the Ducks.
No, but I don't remember their names. But one of them is like Dust for Prince, and they're trying to solve a mystery or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so they dust for Prince, and I guess they just cut away to some other stuff, come back, and the person who was supposed to be dusting for Prince has Prince in her arms. And they're like, and he's like, no, I need you to fingerprint. I need you to fingerprint.
Oh no.
I need fingerprints. And there's a point where Prince looks like side eyes over to her, and she's like, I don't think so.
Oh my God.
And so that's that joke. So I haven't seen this movie in forever, but there is one great joke in it, and it's in Monster House. In Monster House, they go in to the obvious monster house, and they see all these things that they consider are the body parts of the house. Mm-hmm. So this is the eyes, this is the mouth, so on and so forth. And then they see this little dangling thing, and they're like, "Oh, that must be the uvula." And one of the kids says, "Oh, so that means it's a female house."
Wow.
So they did the old uvula vulva joke.
Nice.
Mulva.
Yes. Mulva.
I didn't research. I'm pretty sure in one of the Toy Story movies, Mr. Potato Head says something about, "I'm the only one who can take my wife's mouth."
Yep.
That's in the third one.
It's the third one.
Yeah.
But I really just wanted to answer this question as an excuse to quote Friends again.
All right.
Because there's an episode of Friends that has it may just be the way it struck me that day, but I think it's one of the dirtiest jokes a network sitcom has ever gotten away with. Because you think Seinfeld dabbled in dirty subjects a lot, but almost never said dirty words. And even their innuendo was 3 times removed. Mm-hmm. The episode about masturbation, not only did they never say masturbation, They never say a safe word for masturbation. Right. They go one level out further.
I was alone.
Yeah. And
I'm never doing that again.
So there's this episode of Friends where Monica needs some money and she decides to play the stock market. Mm-hmm. And her arc on the show is that she gets super into it. So she's like, buy, sell, blah, 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 blah. She gets obsessed with it too much. But there's a point where she sells a bunch of stuff and she's all excited about it. And she says, get out before they go down. That's my motto. And Joey immediately goes, that is so not my motto. And the first time, because I watched Friends when it aired originally, and then maybe I've seen some reruns here or there, but the reason I've gotten so into it the last 3 or 4 years is that I started showing it to my wife because she had never watched it. And first thing I did was make her watch Frasier, and she fell in love with it. Now we watch Frasier all the time together. And the same thing has happened with Friends. But when I saw this again as an older adult, I was like, I cannot believe they got away with that joke. Like, that is the kind of thing that I think in today's climate would get axed by the producers.
Yeah, maybe so.
Anyway, I just wanted an excuse to talk Friends again.
Mine is in Ratatouille. When Linguini is looking around the pantry and looking around the restaurant and everything, and his boss Skinner comes in and he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm just getting familiar with the vegetables. And Skinner's like, one can get too familiar with the vegetables. I didn't even realize. I was like, oh, that's a thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's funny.
Wow. Isn't there something in Muppet Treasure Island where Miss Piggy's going through like all the pirates and Kermit's basically insinuating that Miss Piggy has slept with these famous pirates.
Wow.
And then at one point she goes, Long John.
Oh, yeah.
And Kermit's like, oh no, not him too.
Yeah. What's funny is that the bigger takeaway from that scene to me is just a better joke. Mm-hmm. Because as she's rattling off the pipe, and they all get camera time to say hello or would pop up and say, yo, here. I think she's calling roll. But she says, Old Tom. And he's like, hi, really old Tom. And the next guy goes, oh, dead Tom. And there's like a skeleton guy that goes, here.
Well, that'll do it for this week. Keep going to Facebook presented by Cinemasins. We're rich, folks.
Right. We're Winklevi.
Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook and telling us what you thought about this very here episode.
Yeah, baby.
And go to Reddit and go to SoundCloud and go to Twitter. There's a million places to come find us. And tell us what you think, man. Every episode seems to come up with some new revelation that I did not know.
Yes.
And that's what's pretty amazing about all this social media stuff.
That's right.
Well, and you have an opportunity to interact with each of the three of us on various outlets. If you go to SoundCloud, you can get a reply. That's coming from Barrett. Mm-hmm. If you're over on the Facebook, SinCast presented by Cinemasins, that's Chris giving you a response. And if you happen to be on Twitter, that's going to be me.
Yep.
So if you have specific people of the podcast, like Barrett, you said this one thing. Why are you such a stupid douche? You can go to SoundCloud to make sure he sees that.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So anyway, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Did Dicer use this microphone?
Oh, yeah.
Motherfucker. I can tell. It's been adjusted for a taller person.
I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but as soon as Aaron walked in, I had this shit set up. As soon as Aaron walked in, computer locked up and couldn't do shit.
Yeah, I saw something about that. That sucks.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe, I'll just close out of it, restart it, that kind of shit. The computer had to go through a fucking
Windows
full
update.
And it took probably 25 minutes from when it fucked up. And it's like, you come in, we're all three of us, we're recording right now. Yep. Everything is perfectly fucking fine. But Modern Horrors or Aaron Dicer or somebody else walks in here and shit just explodes.
We should stop having guests.
We should stop having. Luckily, we don't have them very often.
We should just stop having Aaron. a lot of people were upset about the push, about what he said about the push.
Oh, I saw that thread on Facebook. Yeah, there's and a guy was on SoundCloud too. They left me like a series of 3 comments, like this is what the dude is. Now, to be fair, I did watch some of the push, but I scrolled pretty much to the end. Like I watched a little bit of the beginning. You know what I'm talking about?
No, in fact, until this very moment, I thought for sure you guys were talking about that Dakota Fanning, Chris Evans superpower movie.
Oh. Well, and when he brought it up last week, he said just push. So I typed in push, and it's like push that movie.
Yeah.
And then there's like the push based on the novel by Sapphire, and then there's
Precious.
and then I had to like actually go to Google and start typing in Netflix push all that, and then
So is this a new movie?
It's not a movie.
It's essentially a documentary. It's this mentalist from England that specializes in like.
I'm already out.
Yeah, exactly. He specializes in like making people do things that they wouldn't otherwise do. And for this one, it ultimately leads up to: would you push somebody off the roof, like essentially murder somebody, if you were given the right contextual clues and like subliminal messaging and stuff like that, and you thought that there was a reason that you should do this? And so Aaron hadn't even seen it. He just said, this concept just is abhorrent to me. And I feel the same way. And so I watched it, and the end, Aaron spoils it, but the end shows that the main character we've been following does not push the person off. And so they do a debrief. The guy comes in, he's like, okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. And you think, okay, this is great. And then it cuts to, they've done this experiment 3 other times, and all 3 of those pushed him. And it shows them pushing. Obviously, he's got like a little tether.
Does it show you what he does to convince them they need to do it?
It does throughout the whole movie. I didn't watch the whole thing, though. It's probably like an hour and a half or so, and I just watched a little bit of the beginning and a little bit of the end.
I mean, it's all about choosing your subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Choose the right subject, you can almost guarantee you can convince them to do something, because there are enough gullible, stupid people out there who believe people can talk to ghosts and shit. God, every time I see a commercial for that Hollywood Medium or whatever that fucking teenagers show is called, and I don't know how he gets some of those people to go on there, because there's legitimately people I thought were smart in Hollywood going on this show crying about what their dead aunt said to this teenage fucker.
Are there smart people on it? I saw Iggy Azalea was on it.
Well, see, yeah, if that had been the episode I saw, I probably would have enjoyed it and laughed at it. But no, I forget who it was. Like Sally Field or somebody
Really?
I respected went on there. My wife likes to watch that show. She likes to watch a lot of shows I hate. But yeah, first of all, this guy's a teenager. He looks 12.
Really?
He looks 12. I'm sure he's probably 25.
Wow.
But I believe there are people out there who have learned how to manipulate people into believing things. Pushing somebody off a roof seems pretty extreme.
Yeah.
But it feels like hypnotism to me, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember in high school, one of our convocations was this hypnotist. God knows why they let this guy in the room. And there was this big girl in our class. Sorry, she was huge. And she was one of the people he called up there. And he hypnotized her. And then he had this regular chair, just like a classroom chair. And he slid it across the stage and set it in front of her. And he had basically convinced her through hypnotism that it was too heavy. And she tried to move it and couldn't. And then he would walk over and tap it and show us that it was easily moved. My mind was blown.
Yeah.
And then, I find out years later, well, I can't be hypnotized. Somebody tried to hypnotize me, and I was laughing at him. He was like, "Oh, it doesn't work if you're too skeptical." I'm like, "Well, that should tell you something."
I saw through this Facebook thread that they were comparing it to the Milgram experiment and all that. So I guess it's sort of like that.
Which was awful.
Yeah, exactly.
It was damaging. There's a reason that you can't do that shit anymore.
There was a movie made about it a couple years ago, I think.
That was the Stanford
That was the
prison
Stanford
experience.
prison.
That was the Stanford
That
prison.
was Philip Zimbardo.
Oh, that
at
was
Stanford.
equally terrible.
Right.
Shit you can't do anymore.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, they've got institutional review boards that frown on social experimentation like that.
And slap wrists.
So the Milgram was the shock, right? There's all increased the amount of shock and everything. And they were told that somebody behind there, what was it?
You heard them. So the subject heard these screams from the other side of the wall where it's like, don't do this, don't do this. And the professors or whatever are saying, it's fine, it's non-lethal or anything. I just need you to do this. And, a lot of them did, even though they heard these screams from the next room.
Fucked up.
Yeah. So no,
up.
I can't. I don't know everything about this Darren Brown, and I'm sure he's a good entertainer. People like him, but that I'm not on board with that shit.
It's crazy. You walk through like a Barnes & Noble. I was doing this the other day. That's why it comes to mind. And you see like thousands of books that were #1 New York Times bestseller list that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy how many books are bestsellers.
All of them are John Grisham.
It makes you wonder also what constitutes a #1 or what they can get away with by saying a number.
Well, when I was releasing my book
Mm-hmm.
and stupidly had it in my head because we'd done pre-orders, maybe I'll crack the bestseller list.
By the way, The Ables, written by Jeremy Scott.
That's
There you
right.
go.
I've seen a lot of Twitter love for the Ables recently.
I know. I'm trying to figure out where that's coming from. It's a little weird. I'm okay with it, obviously. And I think it obviously varies because it's how many books were sold this week, and there's going to be a #1, and 1 week it might sell 50,000. But on average, the #1 book, you only have to sell like 10 to 12,000.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's kind of like what the food industry has done with a lot of stuff, where it's like contains real fruit juice.
My favorite is all the bullshit like hand dipped milkshakes. Fuck off, man! I don't care if you used your hand or a robot dipped it. Is the ice cream real?
Right.
That's all I care about.
Look at you,
Yeah, one take.
seasoned pro.
Yeah, I call him one take Joey.
That's right. Meanwhile, I couldn't get this is recorded live in front of an internet audience.
That took
And
me a couple
3
of times.
fucking tries.
Kind of gives you a new appreciation for William Hurt in broadcast news and that scene where she's barking in his ear.
Oh my God,
And
yeah.
he's speaking and he's changing some of what she says, rewording it, but
Yeah.
he's also behind her by like 5 seconds.
He says, you
Always-
were in my ear. It was like great sex. It was
Balls!